Welcome, friends, to the Here I Go Again podcast, where we discuss life, faith, politics, and a whole lot more. I'm your host, Rob Standridge, and I'm glad you're joining us today. So with that, here we go. Welcome to the Here I Go Again podcast. This is our 10th episode, number 10.
Number 10.
Yeah, number 10, welcoming Senator Shane Jett, Chairman Shane Jett of the Freedom Caucus. So welcome, right. Shane. How are things going with you these days?
Well, fantastic. We just wrapped up my final session in my 12-year career, 6 in the House, 6 in the Senate. And we ended with a bang because this is Freedom Caucus is up in stride. Yeah. And we kind of dominated the news cycle through no intent of our own, through a lot of missteps from leadership who just couldn't seem to get away from their own rhetoric. So this has been an exciting year.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we were talking off air how jealous I am of the Freedom Caucus. I've said that on some podcasts before, so I am sincerely jealous. I will say that I have to take some credit for helping start the Freedom Caucus.
Indeed.
But it's like you train your dog to do all the tricks and then you give it to your brother. So, I mean, but I'm so proud of the folks that you have, including you, and how strong. But give me some, before we get into a history for you, since we mentioned the Freedom Caucus, you talked about how it ended with a bang. Can you share with the viewers some of the highlights of that bang? How, because I watched it, but you were inside it. So what are some of the highlights of what happened those last, let's say, few weeks?
Well, and you have to look in the historical context, right? So you and I have both kind of been in the whipping boy seat when we would push back against leadership, when they would expand the budget and then brag about being the largest budget in state history. And you were in the crosshairs for leadership, for standing up and being opposed and providing an alternative vision for us. And so I came in 2021, and you were already in the battle for leadership and had been punished because you had the audacity to propose to going in a different, and I would argue a more conservative and more reflective of Oklahoma grassroots conservative core values. And so effectively what Freedom Caucus did was it allowed all of us who had been targeted by leadership, targeted by the lobbying class, trying to be taken out of office, it allowed us to unify behind a brand and then come to each other's mutual aid whenever we would be try to single out, isolated, and put in a corner.
Right.
And so effectively whenever they're putting those of us who are fighting for these core conservative values in a corner, what they're really doing is putting our 90,000 constituents who care about these values in a corner. And so what we did with Freedom Caucus, we were founded in September of 2024. So 2025 was the first year as the Freedom Caucus, and that's whenever we had the political upset, where you had the President Pro Tem elect, Greg McCourtney from Ada, Oklahoma, who got spanked and sent home to think about his life choices by grassroots. And you had the same thing with Senator Jessica Garvin, who had run all of the DNC's preferred legislation to play gotcha with conservatives to either expand the budget or you hate women, or expand the budget or you hate all this silly
typical
stuff.
Tricks of the left.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so what Freedom Caucus allowed was a voice and a coalescence of the conservatives who are fighting these fights for our constituents back home that weren't getting the crystal plaques from the lobbyists for being legislator of the year, ostensibly because you're representing the lobbyists instead of your district.
Right.
And so Freedom Caucus just basically came together, codified it, and created an organization where we could fight back in unity against that oppression and pressure to capitulate and give more of the taxpayers' money to whoever was asking, whether that was a lobbyist or whether that was a state agency, and provide us with protection to push back against the organization, which is, leadership representing lobbyists. Frankly, Rob, in 2004, whenever the Republicans took over the House of Representatives for the first time in 80 plus years, I was a part of that freshman class. The Democrats have become so corrupt and self-dealing. Many of them ended up going to prison. Some of them avoided prison by
resigning.
Resigning or turning state's evidence. All of that corruption that we had been highlighting as Republicans the Senate leadership are now doing exactly those things. So we have become the enemy we swore to remove.
So Freedom Caucus, you mentioned a word that I think is important, and you attributed it to grassroots. You said values. So just in simple terms, I mean, let's don't get complicated, but
sure.
I think Freedom Caucus, I view it as actually very simple. So what this values that I attribute to all Oklahomans, by the way, even Democrats mostly. Sure. What are those values that Freedom Caucus stands for?
The crazy thing, Rob, is all the things we put on our flyers.
Even leadership?
Yes.
Really?
Smaller government, conservative values, pro-family.
Okay.
And then they come up to...
What are conservative values? What does that mean?
So smaller government,
okay.
is principle, and that's really what differentiates the Freedom Caucus from a lot of the other social conservatives.
Okay.
Because we understand the abortion issue. Even when I was elected to the House of Representatives, a 20-something-year-old, the Democratic Caucus was pro-life.
Correct. A lot of them
right?
were.
So those core Oklahoma values.
Even
right?
in the Senate was the same. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And so those core issues where, pro-family, we don't want LGBTQ ideology being put before minors in our public schools and those types of things, everybody gets that.
You don't want public schools. They're not celebrating Christian month, so they probably shouldn't be celebrating LGBT month, Pride Month, which they are this month.
Well, they certainly, because and there's a reason it's called sodomy and sodomites, because of Sodom and Gomorrah. The Christian values that Western civilization was built on has already addressed the same issues that we're encountering today, and they want to dress it up, call it different names, put rainbows around it, and say evil is good and good is evil. Those core values most Oklahomans hold near and dear. What they
lower taxes,
smaller government that actually does its job instead of try to continue to grow and grow and grow until you stop it. And what people don't understand is that's the creeping socialism that stifles the economy and increases the tax burden on the everyday family, is because it is from each according to their ability, the taxpayers and their taxes, to each according to their need, state agencies or lobbyists and their clients who want more, not less of your tax dollars. And so really what differentiates the fiscal conservative context of the Freedom Caucus from the rest of the social conservatives that most of us agree on is that we understand that if government continues to grow, it will continue to extract resources and cash from our constituents. And the more government grows, liberty contracts. You want more liberty? Government has to be smaller. Government was meant to serve us, and primarily its role is to preserve our freedom. It is supposed to be a servant of we the people, instead of doling out privileges and rights based on us coming to government and asking permission. Was never the intent.
And to take, it's cradle to grave is what the left wants. And
that's right.
You mentioned Senator Garvin. That's what that kind of mindset is. What there's no victim group you can't help. There's no people that you can't spend money on. And frankly, they come. I mean, I've been guilt tripped so many times when I was in the Senate about, you don't care about this or that.
Oh yes,
that's not what they put on their mailer pieces. I think we have a number of incumbents that are being challenged this time, and I guarantee you, they're putting on their mail pieces exactly the opposite of what they're doing.
Yes,
so how can voters? How could the Freedom Caucus help voters understand the difference between these folks?
So we're pivoting now to when we're looking at if we really want the core conservative values that Freedom Caucus and our constituents want, is we're going to have to get engaged in the election cycle and help the public understand that they're being sold a bill of goods. Whenever I see conservative on somebody's yard sign, like up in Lincoln County, I assume they're not a conservative.
Yeah, if you have to put it on there,
that's
maybe
right.
It's not true.
And I think one of the differentiators you're going to see is people are going to start asking on the doorstep, are you a member of the Freedom Caucus?
No, I think so.
Are you going to be involved in the Freedom Caucus? Are you endorsed by the Freedom Caucus? Because the leadership in the Senate and to some extent some of the House members as well, they put Republican because there's no vetting process. You just got to go fill out a piece of paper, and then if you don't mind lying,
at least 6 months ahead. But
that's right.
You got to plan 6 months,
and so
you have to become a Republican 6 months ago.
That's right. That's right. And so, you have people that are switching Republican. In fact, we know that a lot of the teacher unions were incentivizing and urging their members to re-register Republican to get rid of Janet Barisi and to bring in Joy Hoffmeister.
That's kind of when this all started.
That's right. And so when I see someone's Republican, I go and look up their voter registration and see, was it by the deadline for the 2014 Republican primary? Then you were probably a Republican in name only, in effectively being an educrat. You have no political ideology other than that you're going to protect this turf.
And we have those members in the wave of the teacher strike, which it was a strike,
2018,
which is
illegal.
That's
right. Let's point out that's
a paid strike, by the way.
That paid strike, they had already received the negotiated what they had asked for. They had already received it.
Right.
But that strike came from NEA down and was funded by George Soros and affiliates, and they were bringing in bust professional protesters from Dallas, Texas daily, dumping people off to make sure that there was plenty of people milling around with all the teachers. And so that was being played up by the media, the national media. Same thing was happening in other red states. This was an orchestrated attempt, and we began to see more of that. So you have the 2018 teacher walkout happen in multiple red states. Then following that, you have BLM and all those other. This is a psyop that is funded outside the United States, and Oklahoma was targeted and was a victim of that. And there's a lot of people that ended up running for House of Representatives and Senate.
And the Senate, that's right.
As a result of that,
in
fact, that was on the heels of Kennedy, a trans Republican
getting rid of the cancer,
from South Oklahoma City. He's an attorney, registered Republican so he could run for that seat, and then raise money from trial lawyers and other liberal ideologues to get rid of the most conservative members of the House, which would have been Freedom Caucus.
That's correct.
Effective type.
That's why we need Freedom Caucus.
That's right. Because we had to coalesce, because you have a lot of people that are just voting on principle. They get isolated, singled out, and they try to destroy them. They can't do it anymore. Not with Freedom Caucus.
Not with Freedom Caucus. And I think one thing you saw back during then is, like you said, it's a single ideology. They came in, some of them not necessarily bad people, but that they don't care. This being a legislator is not just as simple as saying I care about this one thing. It's a complex job.
Well, it's like this. If you go to university, and that's what I tell people, what is it like to go into the legislature? It's like going to university as a freshman, and they're like, "What's your major?"
Yeah, what's your major?
And you're like, everything.
Everything,
right?
Right.
Why? Because we only touch whatever the law touches, which is everything.
Everything.
And so
too much, actually.
You really have to come in with an understanding of a very broad spectrum of issues. But what helps with that is the underlying conservative principles to help you navigate that, because the principles remain the same. And we say in Freedom Caucus all the time, principle over personality, policy over politics. Because the only thing we leave in that building, the only thing we leave behind us is what we put in statute.
Yeah, what are the coins that they give out? What are those called?
Challenge coins.
Challenge coins. One of the first things I got when I went in the Senate was Senator John Ford, who I like. I respected John Ford. He was a little moderate, but he's a good guy, honest. Killed a few of my good bills, but anyway, it is what it is. But that's the first thing one of the first things I remember is he giving me a policy over politics challenge coin, and so I appreciated that and tried to live by that. I mean, it's and again, back when I came in, probably kind of like the time when you left the House. It wasn't a rhino field. You had you had people with varying beliefs, but they were Republicans. Like they had been Republicans. Maybe they were in this field, made them a little bit more moderate. But now what you have, like you mentioned, you have the strike, let's say, let's call it what it was. We have the strike. We have the whole get rid of the cancer thing. We have these things that caused, and the Janet Barisi, people that aren't even close to being Republicans, not even remotely close.
Oh, absolutely.
And so,
absolutely.
But I want to go back. We started there, but I want people, Shane Jett, they know, I guarantee you, a lot of people watching, listening to this, they've heard Shane Jett in Oklahoma. They know Senator Shane Jett, Freedom Caucus. I want to go back a few years before I met you and wonder, what was that tipping point for you, the part where you said, okay, I'm tired of what's going on in D.C., or maybe I'm tired of what's going on in Oklahoma. What was the tipping point for you that said, I want to get involved in politics and leadership?
That's an interesting question, because that goes into my childhood. And probably, Rob, it was preachers that came by our church, little Pentecostal church there in Tecumseh, and talked about.
Which, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I grew up. I don't know.
It's Tecumseh, that's right.
Yeah, T-Town.
There's still standards in Tecumseh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you're in your church in Tecumseh.
Yeah, and so we'd have pastors that come and talk about the abortion issue, because Roe versus Wade was about the time that I was born.
Okay.
And so we would have people come in and talk about different moral issues that was facing a nation, and they'd quote scripture. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. That's from Proverbs. Another one is, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn.
Yeah.
And so, and I grew up in a close knit Pentecostal, Assembly of God type, and in growing up, we were told politics is corrupt, dirty, and wicked, and it's not a good place for a good Christian boy. And honestly, I believe God called me into this arena. There's no other explanation other than God was tugging at my heart. My dad was a mechanic with the best Snap-on tools money could buy. He wanted me to be a mechanic. My job was to hold the drop light so he could see where he was working in our muffler shop, or getting on my little red bike and riding to Wilcox Napa Auto and grabbing the part that my dad needed and being back in 10 minutes flat.
There you go.
I used cut and torch. We used ditch witches. I mean, we did all kinds of stuff with our hands. But my passion was always nation building. And so when I would read, I would go to our little Pioneer Library system in the City Hall in Tecumseh and check out all the books on Native American leaders and generals and presidents of the United States and Winston Churchill. And I just couldn't get enough of just what was happening in the world around me. I went to a Christian school. And
which school did you go to?
It went as now it's Tecumseh Christian. It was Oak Grove Christian Academy when I was there. So when I graduated, it was Oak Grove Christian Academy. I think they've changed the name. But the biggest trophy that they offered in our school was for reading the entire Bible cover to cover.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I got that trophy twice.
Really? Wow. Okay.
And here's the thing: in Isaiah 55:11, it says, "So shall my word be that go forth; it will not return void, but will accomplish whereto I send it." You can't read God's word and not have an impact on you. It's not possible.
No question.
And so I read the Bible for entirely the wrong reason. I wanted that trophy.
All right.
And I did that twice, and it stuck with me. And so when you fast forward to 2002, when I decided that, and I was recently married, and Anna and I had prayed and felt like it was time for me to run for office. And actually, I was planning to run in 2004 because that's when term limits came in. That was my big plan.
Okay.
And Todd Hyatt and Chris Still and Lance Cargill and all of those, they said, "Oh no, you got to run in 2002." And so I went and met with my family / church, a big church family, and I knew better than to try to argue them into my position. I had to use scripture. And so whenever I told them, I said, "Look, when I grew up, I was told politics is corrupt and evil and wicked and no place for a good Christian boy. I feel like this is where God is calling me. But I can't ask the community to vote for me if my own family will not and do not vote." And so my grandfather in his 70s registered to vote for the first time in his life to vote for his grandson.
Oh my gosh.
My Cherokee grandmother had pulled me aside a few years before and said, "Shaney," put E on it, "Shaney, if it's okay with you, next Sunday dinner, can we not have politics?"
Okay.
So you fast forward to she and my mother were out knocking doors in Seminole, Oklahoma in 2010 in her 80s.
Oh my gosh.
So completely changed my family. And now I have probably hundreds of Pentecostal ladies, Assembly of God ladies, that will reach out to my aunts, who then reach out to me, and I send them out voter recommendations because they have been, from that point till now, reaching out to all of my aunties and my mom and my grandmother asking, how should we vote? Yeah. Because it made a difference. It made an impact because suddenly this, Pentecostal Assembly of God kid is in politics and making a difference. So that's where it started. And it started whenever I read, and I saw you have Ronald Reagan's autobiography there.
Yeah.
I read Reagan's autobiography on a road trip vacation to Disney World.
Okay.
And I read Reagan's autobiography, a biography on Imelda Marcos, a biography on two biographies on Winston Churchill, one on Jesse Jackson, and I was
all those on the Disney World road trip.
Yes, that's a long drive.
So, my daughter gets a cameo every now and then. I'm not going to call her up now, but she's sitting over there. But we have a trip to Disney World coming up, Holly. Are you going to read? I need to get Shane.
I'll get you my reading list.
Yeah,
yeah. But no, so that's what I did.
Yeah.
When I came back, I volunteered for my very first Republican campaign.
So what was that campaign?
That was Lyle Rogo running for House of Representatives against Del Smith.
Okay, in Shawnee, I assume.
In South Potawatomi County.
Okay.
So Danny Sterling's district.
Now. Oh, okay, yeah.
So I was the very first Republican ever elected to that House seat.
Oh, wow.
In state history.
And that was in 2004, I assume.
That was in 2004. That is correct.
Okay.
So I came back, I think it was like 10 years later, and ran for and won the seat that we lost as a Republican. And that's whenever I've said this on the Senate floor. You probably heard me say it, but that's where the phrase "I thought they sprayed for Republicans in Potawatomi County."
They sprayed for them all over. Yeah, I think
so
we had
back
a few.
then,
had a few in metro areas. Actually, it's kind of the opposite.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's
had
true.
a few in metro areas, but
that's right.
almost all of rural Oklahoma was conservative.
Right.
Probably should say that in front of the word Democrat. Conservative
They
Democrat.
were blue dog Democrats
Yeah.
in the national scheme.
Yes.
So they voted for Ronald Reagan.
Right, for sure.
Both times.
They're more Democrat than many of the Republicans that changed parties 6 months before they run for office.
That's true.
Yeah.
They're just hungry for power, and then they're willing to sell whatever they have of their principles and integrity in exchange for power.
Yes, for sure.
Which is what's going on right now in the state Senate.
Yeah, it's for me watching and now being a spouse. It's very frustrating because, and I've said this to others. What is so difficult about being kind and respectful to people that have earned the position to represent their 90,000 constituents?
That's right.
I mean, that's all it would take. I hear the pro tem Lonnie Paxton opine about relationship building and all of this, and maybe he should have called you Senator Shaney, maybe like your grandmother, maybe that'd help. But I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me if you don't give people the opportunity and the respect that they've earned to push some of their ideas forward, or at least try.
Yeah, it's all bogus. All of the things, it's like we may disagree and then we go have lunch together. That is not true.
No, it's not true.
That was a lie.
I think Treat started
Lonnie
that.
knew he was lying when he said those things.
Yeah.
And you're right. It was Greg Treat who started that, apparently had started that
kind of divisiveness,
personal vendetta, pitting one another against each other.
In seeking power, we try. And what was so ironic in that whole period, like I ran for pro. I would have never run for pro tem if we had been an environment where everybody was treated fairly and with the same respect. But and I'll have to give credit to the previous two pro tems. I felt Brian Bingman and Mike Schultz did that to their best ability. Yeah. There's times in which I think as humans they might have struggled with that, but they tried. They made a valiant attempt to treat everybody with the same respect.
Right.
Treat maybe did that for a few months to begin with, but soon that disappeared because they want what they want and to hell with everybody else.
That's right. Well, and Treat is one-dimensional. He's been a political animal. He's been on the coattails of better politicians than himself. He wraps himself in a mantle he did not inherit, and you can't have a conversation without him saying Tom Coburn at least 5 times. And it's an insult to the man's memory, quite frankly.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, Dr. Coburn, who was a short-time mentor of mine, but he he was done with Treat. In the 2018, I'm surprised that his name is still being used because Coburn was done with him over all of that because that's Treat helped negotiate. It was the largest tax increase in state history. Mm-hmm. Coburn and many others knew that there was a lot of other ways we could have done that. There's a lot of other ways. I mean, and again, I'm not trying to throw everybody under the bus that got on board with tax increases. I mean, sometimes states have to raise revenue, but that was the worst time in state. I mean, what if the next year had it been worse, which was probably more likely than what happened?
Right. We
were very fortunate in that the economy started turning around because we had a good president for a change. So the economy started really climbing. Okay, so fast forward now, give me some tidbits of, I mean, you spent 6 years in the House of Representatives.
Yes.
From 2004 to 2010, right?
That's right.
When you came in, what number of Republicans were there versus Democrats?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
But it was a slight majority
It was a slight majority.
Okay,
so
like 2 or 3 or something
we
like
had
that.
to lock in.
Right.
Anytime there was procedural votes, we couldn't lose any of them or the Democrats would come. So that was, and the camaraderie that we had in the House was intoxicating. It was bad turn of phrase in the Senate's
we haven't got to
recent
intoxicating
indiscretions. It was so alive.
Right, yeah.
And
you locked arms on occasion.
We
right?
had each other's back, and
Right.
we were real Republicans.
Real, yeah.
You didn't register Republican in the 90s if you wanted access to power.
That would be the opposite,
didn't exist, right?
These people were the ones that were out in pasture.
That's
just
right.
a couple years before, and now they're like, holy cow.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so when we came in, we were so excited to be there. We were so excited to begin keeping all the promises that we made when we were knocking doors. And if the Republicans are in power, we will stop this cronyism. We'll stop this corruption. We'll stop these types of things. And we went in and started doing the people's business. And that was a really nice time to be a Republican. Now, we had the Democrats who were just waiting and they were in power. So
Right.
they knew what power was.
Well,
And
they
so
still had the Senate at that time.
And that's right. So we were fighting the Senate. So we had our adversaries. And then, of course, we had my predecessor 3 times removed. Brad Henry was the governor.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Right?
yeah, that's the same district,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah.
And so so that time was we worked very well together. And even then, the Senate had a reputation of being deferential and respectful
yeah.
that was completely non-existent by the time I arrived in 2020 when I joined you in the Senate.
Yeah.
In the 10-year period from when I left the House. I left in 2010, was out for a 10-year period, and came in 2020. Now, in that intervening time, I was in economic development finance with Native American lending and commercial lending in Native American banking.
Oh, and banking, yeah.
So that's what I was putting bread on the table and was watching with appreciation to see us keep gaining in numbers. I was just noticing we are at a supermajority. I thought, man, how wonderful must that be?
We must be. Our taxes, we're going to pay 0 taxes before
Without a clue that it had morphed into something that was quite shameful.
Well, you mentioned the House and Senate relationship. I found that kind of interesting because even when I first came in, that I think the abuse of that stage, that's all acting. I told Lisa this. I've told other senators, freshmen this. Don't get fooled. The whole thing about the governor, House, the triad fighting and all, that's all actors on a stage.
Yes.
But they used it too much. So to the point, I think actually some of it's real now.
Uh-huh.
Like when I first came in, I could tell immediately, this is nothing but a show. You're trying to make us mad at them, so we'll vote on your crap.
Yep.
It's okay.
Right.
Just ask me to vote on your stuff. You
That's
don't have
right.
to make them the boogeyman.
That's right.
But they were the boogeyman. The Senate probably was the boogeyman of the House. The governor's the boogeyman to both. But now it's like, now that there's such a power struggle, so many members in the caucus, if you will, that it's actually become maybe a real fight a little bit.
Well, it has been. And, one of my colleagues up in Ponca City recently went on a tirade and said there are 3 caucuses. There is the Democrat caucus.
Yes, that was Senator Bill Coleman.
That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
I enjoyed that tirade. It's very entertaining. Everybody,
it was also
by the way,
true.
Yes, everybody. Bill's a nice guy. He can be a nice guy,
right?
But he actually slips in his anger and tells exactly the truth. So if you get a chance, go out, take a look at that tirade online, and it's Bill's own words. We're not putting words in anybody's mouth.
Put the link below. Be sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Senator Jett. Yes, thank you for the social media advice. Yes, click like and subscribe, and I will try. Actually, that's a good idea. I will try to include a link to that. That is, when I first watched it, I go, wait a minute, is this AI? I mean, I really thought that somebody had tweaked, because I only saw the first time somebody sent that to me was about a week ago.
Yeah.
Somebody sent that, and it was just that clip. So nobody had sent me the full thing. So I just watched that like 2 minutes, and I was like, oh, this is AI. Because he looked really angry.
Yeah.
I mean, really angry. And I had never seen him get that angry. So I was like, okay. So then somebody sent me, I guess OK2A made a splice thing with how Don Spencer, he's very good at promotion.
Yes,
so it has OK2A logos and everything up, and he some little snippets of what's going on. It has the other guy, Jaden, who would be a phenomenal senator, by the way.
Yes.
Is Jaden, did I get that correct? Is that Jaden?
Jaden, Jadan.
J-A-D. Yeah, he would be, I think I don't know him, never talked to him, but he looks phenomenal in this debate for sure.
And very tall.
He is tall and very statesmanlike. I mean, a lot of challengers against incumbents. I'm sorry to get on tangents, but you've seen this. I mean, you were a challenger against incumbents, but you were already experienced. Some of the challengers, I think, get too angry. I guess maybe too passionate.
Yeah. No, I thought he was very even-keeled, very respectful in his demeanor. I thought very senator.
I thought so too.
I thought.
Well, share more about the Coleman, because we teased it, but we need to tell people a little bit more.
He said this election cycle effectively is about who will control the Senate. Control. Yes, and he's correct. Because right now, who's controlling the Senate are lobbyists and special interests and state agencies.
Right.
And
leadership. People that don't hold the values that are on the very mailers that they send out.
Absolutely. And so who's not in control, and we feel it in our skin, in our blood, is the grassroots Oklahoma Republicans who get out and volunteer, who are just putting bread on the table, and they want Oklahoma government to reflect their values. And it's not happening, and it's clear it's not happening. So actually, there are three caucus. There's the Democrat caucus. There's the Republican caucus, who actually represent Republican core values, the smaller government, the pro-family.
That's the Freedom Caucus.
No. That's Freedom Caucus.
That's right.
And this other caucus that calls themselves the Republican caucus is just a pay-to-play cabal that needs to be removed.
But we have
and
lots of caucuses. We have aviation caucus. We have women's caucus.
You have the agriculture caucus. You have the everything.
Well, we have the rural caucus actually has a seat in the leadership room. But they are so scared. I mean, it's fear and anger when I watch that.
Our caucus is larger than the Democrat caucus.
True that. Actually, it's larger than they think because a lot of members are anonymous members.
It is larger than they think.
Yeah, and so
it scares me.
And I have not outed. We accidentally said when I had Charlie Meadows on, we accidentally mentioned a couple names. I said, Charlie, we can't do that. So I actually edited that clip out and deleted it just in case.
Very good.
But yeah, I actually have immense respect for anonymous members. People give me crap about that. I have immense respect for anybody that's willing to vote conservatively like they put on their mail pieces.
That's right.
And
it's
so
just being
they don't have to
honest.
agree with the Freedom Caucus every time, even as members.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Legislate like you campaign.
Yeah.
In other words, don't lie.
Correct.
It's real simple.
Yeah. I mean, lower taxes, smaller government.
Yeah.
Family values.
And you shouldn't be afraid of the government unless you are a bad person.
And most of Freedom Caucus, I mean, on a national level, most of it's fiscal, right? Most of it's about money, right?
That's what differentiates them.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's all those core conservative values that.
But not the social stuff.
Yes, the social stuff.
Oh,
is
it included
Absolutely.
in okay.
But all of the Republicans, even my opponent, when I beat him, he would say he's pro-life, but he'd tell his neighbors, I don't think it's right for a man to tell a woman what to do with her body.
Correct.
He's pro-choice.
Not
He's a
sure
liar.
if that's Jimmy Stewart or Ron Sharp. Which one?
That was Ron Sharp.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't really.
You
get
made
Jimmy
him sound like Jimmy Stewart a little bit. Don't mix them up.
Yeah. No, Jimmy Stewart good. Ron Sharp, whatever. But he was a liar.
Right.
And so.
He's that. It's that moderate Republican, formerly left Democrat mindset that says that it's healthcare, not
killing
death,
a baby,
not death.
That's right.
It's healthcare. It's like
it's affirmation, not mutilating and sterilizing a child.
Right. Yeah. We talked about a letter that my daughter got from OU, about abortion, given instructions to the entire email list, entire mail list, and one thing that stuck with me from what she just read it to you a little bit ago is for the safety and health of the I get they didn't use the word mother, but
safe and effective,
yes. Right,
and like COVID vaccines,
right? But
safe
and effective, but you're losing a life.
That's right.
So I mean, I don't. Why
100% of successful abortions end in the death of one of the participants.
That's correct. And so it's very, if they said avoid crime, have an abortion, avoid crime, which is what they do too. Mm-hmm. But I just, as a health professional, I just think that's the wrong terminology to use completely. Even if I was pro-choice, which I'm not, why would you use safe and effective with the loss of a life? It's stupid.
Well, it's because some people just are liars.
And they're pushing, they're not just offering this as a service saying, well, you know what? If you're going to do it, here's a say. It's like, no, come so you can learn, so you can be whatever you want to be, and if you have to do this, you have to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and even a few years ago, maybe in the late 90s, there was a push to have all of your OBGYN to do an abortion as a requirement before they could graduate
Oh
from
my
medical.
gosh.
Because we didn't have enough people doing those things.
Oh my
and
gosh.
so if you could force them to do it as a student, then you can guarantee they probably would do it
for sure.
And during that same period of time, they removed the Hippocratic Oath, first do no harm.
Yeah.
They had to do that, otherwise they'd be lying if
Well,
they
that's
did
like
that oath.
that's like the whole transgender thing. That totally eviscerates the first do no harm. I think
That's
they
right.
just need to take that out.
That's why they had to get rid of the Hippocratic Oath.
They just need to get rid. So they did officially
Yes,
get rid
it's
of it.
gone. It's not required in the state of Oklahoma. I ran a piece of legislation to incorporate that.
Oh wow! Wow!
To
If conservatives
require it.
If conservatives take back over, that should be required.
Yeah, here's an interesting thing. I was talking
That's
to,
like the history of medicine forever.
Absolutely. I was talking to Bob Lynn of OPAC last night, and we were talking about what happened whenever the Republicans took over the House in 2004 and the Senate in 2008. What happened to all those powerful Democrats? Where did they go? And what we're noticing is they migrated to higher ed. So you have a lot of former Democrats who are presidents of universities. You've got a lot of them into large law firms, so they command a lot of campaign contributions.
Yeah.
You have a lot of them that ended up into state agencies.
Yes.
And so effectively what you have is the Democratic state didn't dissipate or disappear. It entered into the other institutions, and it has been pushing back against the elected representatives, the governor, the House and Senate, that are elected by the people. But they're using their ideology. So right now you have Seminole State College. Jim Utterback was appointed there. He was very dear friends with Gene Stipe. In fact, had a picture, official Senate picture of Gene Stipe in his office. And I mentioned that because I'd paged as a 16-year-old when Gene Stipe was a senator, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's Uncle Gene."
Uncle Gene.
So, and I had a very good working relationship with Jim Utterback. Very nice guy. He's very likable. A lot of vitriol against Trump and everything currently on social media. But that was who was over Seminole State College while I was a House member. And then replaced by the new president is Lana Reynolds, who has a DEI page and an LGBTQ page that is being run by her HR director, I believe, which is a lesbian couple. Now, they ostensibly go to the Church of Christ there in Seminole, but those values are not reflected in that university because those are Democrats.
But those what's so ironic and hypocritical about that is those values do not represent Seminole at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
99% of Seminole is aligned with.
They hide behind separation of church and state, which is a communist ideology.
Right. It just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist here.
Exactly.
But yet it does, but it shouldn't because the founders never
Let's
did.
talk about your Senate district, right?
Yeah.
Or Mary Bourne Senate district,
Yeah.
or the Senate.
We're in
Senator
Mary
Lisa
Bourne Senate
Standard,
district,
right?
yeah.
You have the former attorney of the ranking Democrat U.S. Senator David Boren, his attorney, while David Boren was our U.S. Senator, is now the president of the University of Oklahoma, who has been selecting and recruiting the Democrats from the state agencies, DHS in particular, running their DEI office or whatever they've rebranded it to.
Rebranded.
They are aiding and abetting and fortifying that dissipated Democrat state of those Democrat ideologues, and now they have metastasized, and it's a tumor in the University of Oklahoma.
What's causing they want to indoctrinate the students that come through.
Clearly.
Because these are young people.
That's right.
Yes, they're not minors, but they're young people, and they want to take advantage of that opportunity. You know, one thing else, the freedom, I think one of the weaknesses that helps this whole thing with the Democrats, also the lobbyists, you know, a lot of them go to lobbying.
Sure.
And so term limits, I'm for term limits big time, even though I'm a victim, you're a victim of them, I guess you might say. But they're good. But here's an area that I think the Freedom Caucus has a massive value because term limits do allow these people to get away with murder.
Yeah.
Well, in the case of abortion, literally, but they do allow them to get away with murder with regards to this. But I see Freedom Caucus not in its first year; it's a baby, but over 5-10 years, when somebody comes in and they can shepherd that person and say, "You don't have to agree with us on everything, but trust me."
Yeah.
You want to know the history. You want to be in here. You want to. So we'll make them. So instead of being a freshman, they'll come in and quickly learn 4 years worth of history. So that term limits. The good side of term limits will exist, and now we'll get rid of the bad side of term limits, the lack of knowledge.
You are able to maintain institutional knowledge, which right now is being concentrated in staffers whose names the general public do not know.
That's right.
But they are flexing their political muscle.
There's no question.
We've seen it in boys' state and girls' state, so I'll be coming out with some information about that.
I've been hearing about
where you have Senate staffers are putting in individuals that have a certain ideology, and whenever they have speakers who are conservative, like members of the Freedom Caucus, they limit their exposure. And those who come in with LGBTQ rainbow sashes and have four-letter words in their presentation, and 3 separate times go on talking about how they're lesbian in front of a hundreds of young ladies around that are minors from around the state of Oklahoma.
Most of them from rural Oklahoma too. That go to church every Sunday.
Absolutely. That was featured to the entire group.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that's going to be coming out. So again, it's that Democrat state, that liberal ideology. It didn't change to Republican. It scampered off into the bowels of the various institutions and are pushing back. That's the real pressure that we're pushing back. One of them is the Cherokee Nation. The Cherokee Nation, what used to be Little Dixie in McAlester, Oklahoma, whenever Gene Stipe was at his heyday, the DA from there is now the political consultant for the Cherokee Nation, and she is probably one of the most powerful non-Cherokees in Cherokee politics, and a lot of the money that comes into the casinos and gets divvied back up goes into quiet money that is undermining every Republican race in the state of Oklahoma.
Really?
And is funneling into congressional districts from New York to California, and that's from the Little Dixie mob that moved from McAlester to Tahlequah, Oklahoma. This is also happening.
Well, to jump back to the Senate on that same kind of vein, my daughter was in Pageville, so we go up there to Pageville, and this has changed dramatically in just the last few years. So Treat got rid of the chaplains, which it took God out of the Senate, and I'll tell you how I see that. So God was in the Senate when I was there. We had prayer every day. We'd have a chaplain who's not a politician open us in prayer every day and actually give us a sermon, if you will, or a message on Thursday morning.
Consistent with the National Congressional Chaplain that we've had since the inception of our nation.
And probably since the inception of the founding of Oklahoma, since statehood, I would be willing to bet. We kicked that out. So we kicked God out of the Senate. And in his place, what did we do? We stuck a bunch of worthless politicians up there to say a prayer. Most of those prayers that I've heard are to cherry pick and use blasphemy, because it is blasphemy, to use the Lord's name to go after members of the caucus that they have an issue with.
How many times were you asked to pray in your 12 years?
I was asked, but I refused. I don't think it's appropriate for a politician.
How many times I was asked?
I don't know. 0. Well, I mean, I don't want to.
I'm a Pentecostal. I didn't want to be praying up there.
I don't want to condemn anybody, but I love Roland Peterson. He's a dear friend. He gets up there. He says a genuine prayer. So not everybody's doing what I'm saying. But that's not the appropriate people to be praying.
That's correct.
You should have a chaplain there that's not and admittedly George, what was the senator? He had his guy up there that was
George Young had a pastor.
Did a horrible job, but so be it. Yeah. People are going to get up there and make mistakes. They're human. But that got rid of God. Now the Page program. It's ridiculous. All of those bills that they had to choose from are all liberal hacked bills when we have 40 Republican senators in it.
And
so that whoever's running that should be fired immediately.
They make sure that they get lots of exposure to the Democrat caucus.
Yeah,
which is, was it 7? 8 people. 8 have a disproportionate representation in their exposure to the
trying to
program.
Brainwash those kids.
100%.
And it's very sad because when the Republicans truly had the leadership roles, you know whose bills mostly you would find in those stack of bills? This was kind of before you came in. Standridge, Dom, those. In fact, Dom's it was mostly because they're fun.
They were controversial.
They may not make it to the finish line, but they're fun to do. And my bills were in there, and I can't. Other conservative members' bills, but of course there would be Stanislawski had good bills. I mean, there's a lot of good members that have bills in there.
You have to have something that's interesting to the kids.
Interesting to the
students
kids.
That are there that's going to pique their interest.
Yeah, like taking pornographic books out of schools. That my bill for that would be in there, and they were like, "Oh, I don't see it in my school." well, this opens their eyes to think, well, maybe it exists somewhere.
Yep.
And so, yeah, but now it's a minimum wage. They do that every time now. Every time. And the person that's running the program debates for that bill
on the floor.
With these kids, trying to brainwash these kids as if that's really going to help impoverished people. It doesn't. But anyway, so you come into the House. So to fast forward to now, the Freedom Caucus. One thing that you're involved in that the Freedom Caucus isn't. I don't know where the Freedom Caucus stance is. I know they want to lower property tax, but you, my friend, have been involved in either eliminating or greatly reducing property tax for people that own their own home.
Oh yeah.
Tell us, how did that get started? I mean, we won't get into my role in that yet, but
sure.
But how did that start?
It's very simple. One is, if you can't go into anywhere Oklahoma and not hear someone talk about they're paying too much on their homestead, the taxes on their home, right? When
you say home, I'm sorry for viewers. We need to make sure we define everything because I learned in the last couple of days that a lot of people don't understand all this. When you say homestead, what does that mean?
Your home, where you live, your domicile, and it's where.
Can a wife and a husband have two homesteads, or is it?
No, you can only have one.
Okay.
And so in the state of Oklahoma, you get to identify which is your primary residence and which you're going to take the homestead exemption on, which I believe is $1,000.
I think that's right. Unless you're lower income, then I think you get another $1,000.
Yes, and it's really a pittance when you think about how inflation and cost of real estate has gone up, and it's been stagnant for quite some time. So it's and very
people always complain about Texas's property tax, which is high, but their exemption is a ton more than ours.
Right,
a ton more.
And so basically, it's the principle of, should local government be extracting wealth out of your home equity? Should you have to pay rent to the state of Oklahoma for the rest of your life until you draw your last breath? Or should they go elsewhere to find funding for state, local, and government, wherever it's been spent? And the overwhelming majority of Oklahoma says they should not be taxing the equity in my home. That's my home, right? And so basically, you have State Representative Mike Reynolds. He and I served in the House together whenever the Republicans took over.
And subscribe and click like below on the Mike Reynolds podcast.
Oh, that's right. Put the link below. Like and subscribe. Hit the little bell.
Yeah, right.
So Mike is he called me and State Representative Jay Stiegel.
Ah, yes, Jay.
And an interview you can do in the future, and they can like and subscribe then as well.
Yes, I need to have Jay on for sure.
It's basically to phase it out. Why? Because this Senate leadership and the House leadership were not interested in meaningful property tax relief.
There's no question. They wouldn't even increase the exemption to 5. Lisa had Senator Standridge had a bill, and I think even the pro tem had a bill, supposedly, to increase the exemption to $5,000.
Which he had no
clearly
intentions whatsoever. Because if it's his bill, it's going to be heard if he wants it heard.
Oh, absolutely.
It was there for a press release and nothing more.
That's correct.
Disingenuous.
So just like the illegal aliens thing, we're going to get to that. But
so basically, I ran a legislation that would do exactly what we're doing in the state question.
Okay.
They did not want to hear it. Why? They're not interested in giving you property tax relief for your home.
But I'm sure the chairman worked with you and tried to find a version that they would hear, right?
Not at all.
Okay, just checking. Because that's how it used to work.
Yeah, but it doesn't anymore.
Yeah, right.
And so it proves the point. If the people of Oklahoma want relief on the property tax that they're paying on their home, they cannot look towards the Senate leadership to provide any kind of relief whatsoever. They're not interested. They're addicted to the narcotic of spending that money.
Oh, yeah.
And so what we did was we made it a vote of the people through the initiative petition process so that they could vote if they wanted to phase it out 1/3 next year, 2027, 1/3 in 2028, and 1/3 in 2029. That gives a runway for the legislature to show up to work and do the hard work of figuring out what's the right way to fund government, because funding it on the backs of
new families who are trying to buy their first home, or farmers who have retired and now suddenly they have to sell their farm to buy a rent house
or the
in
bank
town.
takes it. Yeah.
Absolutely. That is not Oklahoma
Not the
values.
Cherokee Bank, but yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we did. So that's state question 843.
43, yeah.
And it was Jay Stegall, State Representative Jay Stegall, myself, and Mike Reynolds. We are the I guess plaintiffs. Is that we're the defendants?
You're proponents.
We're the proponents,
right? In the legal case,
I'll have to consult with my attorney. Rob, what are we?
So like I'm sure you've been following Florida. So Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, called a special session this
Put
week.
Oklahoma to shame,
Yeah.
by the way. Florida put Oklahoma to shame.
So we call a special session in Oklahoma so we can spend more money.
Yes, of course.
So he called a special session
to remove I believe pass a constitutional provision to remove the homestead tax on your homestead.
That's correct. The legislature threw in some caveats, to be honest, but his proposal, Governor Ron DeSantis' proposal, where he has been quoted many times as saying you shouldn't have to pay rent to the government for the rest of your life to live in your own home.
Exactly.
Is to eliminate it completely. Now they did draw it back a little bit, but I think that Oklahoma. And like you said, this is statutory, so the legislature would have had 3 years to figure out if they wanted to tweak it.
That's right.
I would dare them to have the guts, but I mean, they could tweak it and say, okay, well, if you got a $3 million mansion, you don't get to take it all off or something like that.
We'll take a look at the state budget that was passed this year by a supermajority Republican, largest state budget in state history. An absolute shame.
Yeah, it is. It's
an absolute shame. It's to the point. This is not a Republican leadership.
So the last 5 years ending, I think, in 2024 or 2020, I think 2024 or 2025, guess whose 5-year budget increase was the greatest in the nation for those 5 years?
Was it Oklahoma?
Now, name me some other states that you might, if you were a layperson.
I would think Minnesota or Hawaii,
California,
New
York,
the blue states.
So New York was 33%. That's pretty high, right?
Yeah,
that's 33% over 5 years. Illinois, I think, was 27, 28%. California was only 13% those 5 years. So maybe California's not as bad, and no, it's worse. But anyway, guess how much Oklahoma was in that 5 years?
Did we double? No, it was what 9
66%.
66%. Yes.
66%.
That's right.
And people will tell you, OCPA did an article on this. I have trouble finding it today for some reason. But anyway, but I've read the article and I remember it. But anyway, but several people will make excuses that they moved some money around. They didn't move 66% around.
No.
So money moving around a lot. It was $8 billion 5-6 years ago.
That's right.
It's almost $13 billion now.
That's correct.
Do the math. It's easy to do the math.
That's right.
And that's kind of like the Medicaid thing, the managed care. Oh, well, no, it's saving money. No, do the math.
Yeah.
The math is easy. How
That's
many recipients you have? How much did it cost you?
Down. That's
Divide
right.
the number.
That's right.
And it's easy to come. But don't let
political doublespeak to try to confuse the public.
Right.
And it's blatant disrespect of the Oklahoma farmers and ranchers and those that go to Tinker Air Force Base and they earn a salary so they can afford to have cattle. All that stuff. Those people are what's writing the checks on April 15th or doing those ad valorem checks whenever the assessment comes due. And it is disrespectful. You do not have Republican leadership in the state of Oklahoma, in the state Senate or in the House of Representatives. They don't behave as Republicans. They do not govern like Republicans.
So you had a list of books that you read on the road trip to Disney World. I'm impressed, but I used to read till I started writing. I read vociferously, so I read tons of books. But I'm sure though that you're in favor then of the government, the state of Oklahoma, using mine and your tax dollar, my daughter's and everybody else's tax dollars to make sure they buy books for everybody in the state, right? Didn't you vote for that program? That you had that vote this year, right?
No. Which one? To buy books for everyone?
Yeah, for everybody for every kid in the state, they're going to send a free book to. I think the state spent $5 or $10 million this year on it. It's the Dolly Parton deal.
Yes.
Yeah, whether they want it or not.
Yeah.
So let me ask you. You probably monitor what your children read. I'm betting, as every good parent should.
Yes.
So if you got a book in the mail, just randomly from, I don't care if it's Dolly Parton or Clark Gable, I don't care who it's from, Garth Brooks, whatever. You get a book in the mail. Are you just going to hand that to your kid? I mean, is that the book you want for your child?
Yeah.
Probably
Well, the
not.
government knows best, right?
Right. I mean, isn't that the stupidest use of taxpayer dollars I think I've
Yes.
ever heard?
Yes.
I mean, you could, if you were going to be bleeding heart, you'd at least say, I'm going to send it to all the poor kids, right? But this bill just sends it to everybody.
Yeah. Who wrote that bill?
John Haste, I believe, Senator John Haste.
Yeah,
Yes.
imagine my surprise.
Well, yeah. John's a nice guy, but he's
Yes.
not conservative. I mean, that is nowhere close to a Republican
you shouldn't
idea.
be selecting people based on if they're nice.
That's
You should
correct.
be selecting them whether or not they're going to fight for you to keep your dollars that you work for in your pocket
In your
and in your
pocket.
home equity.
So you can go down and buy a book for your child that you want.
Yes.
I mean, I don't care if you want to buy him about the striped giraffe or whatever you want to buy him about. You're probably not going to want the book that randomly comes in the mail.
This is
Because you're-
transferring money to Dolly Parton. Who's getting that money?
Right, and I'm a fan of Dolly Parton's, but it doesn't mean I want to pay her money to send books to every kid in school. So the Freedom Caucus is not behind the property tax effort exactly, but it's of the same kind of
Well,
mindset.
it's the same principle.
Yeah, get rid of
Absolutely.
People need to be aware that the property tax that they're paying in Oklahoma is not low.
No, it is not low.
It is not low.
And we also have to remember that for the first 100 years of Oklahoma history, we were controlled by Democrats and the Democratic ideology that went with that. And Democrats back then, even though they were conservative on the social issues, were about growing government. So their idea of job creation was expanding the public school program
And
or
power.
expanding social
Yeah.
programs, and then power as well.
Yeah.
And then that's when they ended up in prison.
Right.
Or turning states evidence.
Because you award all these jobs, you get your.
That's correct.
You know that's why we have such huge county governments, because maybe it's not huge in Oklahoma County, but you go out to Texas County having 3 commissioners and all this other stuff. Maybe it's not that expensive, but it's about power.
Yes.
It's about power.
That's right.
Because you don't need all of those people out there. Kind of like the school districts, you don't need 500 or whatever school districts, but
Well, whenever in 1907, whenever they're putting up school districts, the primary method of getting around, if you weren't walking, was walking on a horse.
that's correct, right?
and so those.
And those were schoolhouses really more than school
That's
districts.
true. That's true. So sometimes we end up supporting status quo because it maximizes the revenue that flows into the district, but doesn't necessarily maximize the benefit to the student who is supposed to be the end recipient of those services.
And it's tough. I've gone back and forth on that issue because the finances are hard to figure out. But so the property tax, yes, I am legal counsel for the property tax. I was before the Oklahoma Supreme Court yesterday.
That's right.
So I wanted to read some of those comments here in a minute. But I also wanted. So I have family in Florida. So when you think about other
And
states,
Tecumseh.
and Tecumseh, which by the way, I meant to mention, I went to the Assembly of God Church there. I don't know if you ever went to that. You mentioned the Pentecostal Assembly of God.
Was that Brother Ryder's church?
No, it was the Hurst family.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
Travis Hurst has a church on 177.
My best friend in high school.
Yeah,
We rode
good
around in his
people.
Jeep nonstop, and Travis used to mess with he has those old beat up yellow crappy Datsun that he used to always shift it into neutral as we're going, because it only had 3 or 4. I can't remember if it was a 3-speed or 4-speed, but when you were going 55 miles an hour, you'd think you were going 300 miles an hour.
Yeah, yes, it's very low to the ground.
I miss Travis and my buddies out there, but we had a lot of fun.
Good people.
Keep thinking we're going to have a reunion, but when you go to some tiny little Christian school, it's hard to get 8 people to come together, or 15 or whatever. But but I have family in Florida, and I visit with them about now in politics since I've been involved. And in Florida, so I have family that have homes on the ocean there. Their property tax is lower than my property tax here for homes that are more valuable.
Yes.
And this is he's talking about getting rid of their property tax. I'm like, well, maybe we need to trade governors. Maybe Ron can come over here and knock some sense into us. Hopefully, maybe we'll get a governor that'll do that. But I don't understand that. I don't understand how people here can be. I guess that's the blindness when you're in your own state. You don't look around, because that's how they trick us in this whole teachers are making more here.
Right,
they just
right.
pit us against each other. So here would be common sense to call a friend in Texas or Florida or California and say, hey, you got a $500,000 house. How much are you paying for property tax? And when you learn that Oklahoma is about as high as a state that has an ocean and mountains and ski resorts and all that, you might be thinking, maybe we're getting gouged.
Yes. Well, and the other thing is you can't have a conservative governor unless you have a conservative legislature.
Oh, that's true.
Because Governor Stitt could only sign what we would put in front of him.
That's correct.
And you and I ran solid conservative policies.
Yeah, for sure.
And that never got to his desk. So he can't sign them into.
That's correct.
So that, Oklahomans elect conservatives.
Yeah.
Or they elect people who lie and tell them they're conservative, and then they're duped into electing people that do not represent their values.
Bingo.
That's why we're here.
And I have a lot of sympathy for voters. I really, really do. That's why I think going forward, the Freedom Caucus could play such a valuable role into helping educate voters. But Bob Lynn was on recently on a podcast, and one thing we covered was the higher ed board of regents, and he was like, Rob, I'm looking at
who's the chancellor of the board of regents, by the way.
Well,
What's
I know
his name?
I know it was USS Johnson Glenn Johnson.
Yeah.
For a lot of years, I can't think of who it is now. It's the lady that was there is gone. What? So who's Garrett was her name, right, or something like that?
Yes, I know who you're talking.
Yeah, but who is there now instead of her? I forget. I'm sure it's a Democrat. Is what you're
Yes,
gonna tell me?
they're former Democrat legislators.
Yeah, probably.
How are we allowing this?
I don't know.
Well, it's because those who are in power are more interested in what lobbyists say about the good work they're doing than their own constituents.
That's right.
They're not trying to clean house to make sure that our agencies reflect core conservative values. Our universities are not as well.
They don't even care about Pageville. I mean, if I were, I mean, I don't like to fire people, but I fired a lot of people in my life, as you might imagine. But if I had somebody in there taking over Pageville to try to indoctrinate these kids, they would be fired before they got back to their office.
So the problem is what is the campaign coffers for President Pro Tem Lonnie Paxton and Floor Leader Julie Daniels? What was their campaign coffers? High water mark last election cycle.
There's no telling.
300,000+.
Yeah.
They don't care.
They
They only care about this.
I think that's correct.
When
that's
incoming
sad,
freshmen come in, they start doling that money out, so they pretend to be their friends until they compromise them enough and they become part of that cabal.
That's exactly right. Shane, you're it's a sad testimony for me to agree with that, but you're exactly right. I saw it mainly the last 6 years I was there, but I saw it, and it's sad.
It is.
It is sad. And I've said this on podcast. It is sad that some of these people, though, even taking the money aside, all you got to do is take them to a few dinners, buy them a few glasses of Chivas Regal, and which maybe
or Tito's.
Maybe Bill should have had some more shots before his little tirade. But anyway, but yeah, so the property tax is an issue, and so I hear back from people. I've talked to a few candidates, and they'll, well, Rob, I don't know about this property tax. I don't want to be, I don't know where I'm at on that. And I'm like, I didn't ask you about property tax. And so, they're associated with the Freedom Caucus or whatever. And I'm like, so when we had the argument, which again, honor of my life, if I never have another case, as long as I live, I'm so proud of that to represent you. I know I didn't get there necessarily on purpose, from my angle or yours, but I'm so honored to have represented y'all.
It was perfect. It was
and so everything's
perfect.
in God's timing. So
That's
I hope
right.
maybe click and like, subscribe below, and I'll put my cell phone in case you need me for another. But I was a little concerned after hearing this, thinking that maybe people aren't for this. But so let me read a few. This is on K4, and when I have I've done a million interviews with Channel 4. I'm sure you have too.
Sure.
When I do an interview on Channel 4. And I go and I'm talking about pornography in schools, I'm talking about lowering taxes or school choice or whatever controversial thing that I'm talking about. And I go look at the comments. I'm usually like, Rob sucks. Oh, Rob is horrible. Let's see, Rob. Well, get rid of him.
Just honest feedback.
Go back to honest feedback from Channel 4 viewers. But now I look through this. Hopefully these aren't the same people that say I suck. Anyway, hey, don't click or subscribe, like below on that comment, please. But anyway, they will. That's the one they really like. So I know this guy, Stephen Teal, is a very, very smart guy. He doesn't say no. He's given reasons how we can do it. I won't read that one. That's actually positive for it, but I won't read it.
Okay.
And eliminate property taxes and increase sales tax. That way everyone making a purchase. I mean, these are common sense things. Play one-time property sales tax when you purchase, transfer home. That way you don't have property tax for the rest of your life. Flat tax for everybody. I just heard Ron D. from Florida talk about what they're doing. Yeah. Remove property tax, use the lottery tax. Weren't we promised that at one time? Lottery's going to pay for everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sin pays for everything. That's right. Property taxes should end once mortgage is paid off. I'm sitting here reading these one at a time, so I'm all for no property taxes, particularly on seniors.
Yes.
it's there's one. The first one negative. What will replace property tax?
Bingo.
The guy responds immediately. Consumption tax.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, almost everything I read was
Everyone gets it. The only people that don't get this is those that are addicted to spending that money.
And I really like this one. Get rid of the exemptions on commercial property taxes. When you look through the exempt, we exempt manufacturers.
Uh-huh.
So if I go out and open up we had a sub sandwich for lunch. So I've got this great opportunity, entrepreneurial idea. I'm going to open up a sub shop. I have to pay property tax.
Yeah.
But yet some big wig, high dollar, whatever what's this plant that they're raising heck about now, the smelter thing.
Smelter, yeah.
So that guy comes in, or Panasonic comes in, let's forgive them all. No taxes, Thunder comes in, no taxes, get rid of their income tax. But yeah, so we wonder why people think they can't afford to get rid of property taxes. They're delusional.
Yes.
We give everybody tax breaks. Get rid of the tax breaks and give the everyday Oklahoman their home.
Yes, and under the guise of economic development, that's where the boondoggles are happening right now, in real time, in the Senate, is we're going to take your money from all of you Oklahomans, and we're going to strategically give it to somebody who's going to come in and provide us with all of these jobs or benefits or economic development, whatever. Economic development and job creation, job development, all of those types of things, basically pulling money out of the pockets of small mom and pop businesses and then choosing who to give it to. Here's the wicked part of that. Leadership looks at that as an opportunity to go raise money for their PACs.
Oh, no question.
Let me repeat that.
Yeah.
For those individuals who are coming in, that come in hat in hand asking for preferential tax treatment.
Right.
They have to come to the lead committee. And then they're disclosed who are wanting special taxation favors with the people coming into Oklahoma. Creates an opportunity for those on the lead committee to go in and soliciting them for campaign contributions to their personal or to their PACs. This is happening today.
I have a good description for those two parties. So you have the business party on this side, the politicians that are supposed to be representing the state on this side. These people are smart. These people are stupid. It's very simple. These people are willing to give away taxpayer dollars so they can get favor. These people are just like a Donald Trump. They're just playing the system over morons.
That's right.
People that are willing to give away taxpayer dollars so they can have a few $1,000s in their coffers.
That's right. But unfortunately, the Organized Crime Bureau, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, calls that pay to play.
It is pay to play.
It is illegal.
And I hope one day that
they go to prison.
I hope so. I hope somebody gets caught. And I heard, I'm not going to throw this name because this is not. I heard it secondhand. So who knows if it's true or not? But when you hear these things about lobbyists and people, a lot of times they're true. Mm-hmm. But one of the people in the Swamp 7 was heard recently saying that, yeah, I'll vote for that, but what do I get? And there was an old discussion that was overheard by somebody on what I guess there is one she. I don't want to eliminate the one, but I hesitate to mention she, so probably isn't that one. But anyway, so they can count to 6 now. But anyway, one of those people were.
There are only 2 genders.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. But I mean, who says something like that? I mean, it means you're just so stupid that you don't understand that what you're offering there is a pay for play, is a crime.
It is. Absolutely.
It's not a little crime. It's a big crime. It's a felony. You go to prison for a long time.
As they should.
But I think in this particular case, this guy is so stupid. Ooh, I just gendered him out. This guy is so stupid that I think he does that. I've heard he does that regularly.
I assure both genders are involved in this. I assure you.
Maybe so. Okay.
No, it's no maybe. It's a fact.
Yeah, I mean that stuff, and I actually mentioned to John Eccles, who's running for AG. Yes. I actually visited with him the other day, and I said, you know what? Some people were throwing shade at him for stuff, and so I said, what you really need is you need to set up something to go after that, because that is happening.
Yeah.
And the quickest way to clean up Oklahoma and actually make the Freedom Caucus the lead, they wouldn't take over. That's not how leadership works. It's supposed to work in the Senate. There's no control. You're actually supposed to be elected to be kind of the cheerleader for the caucus.
Yes, empower them.
Yeah.
And facilitate.
Right. And that's what Bingman and Schultz tried to do, actually.
Exactly.
And so,
that's correct.
So I told Floor Leader Eccles or John Eccles, I said, why don't? And he agreed with me. He thought it was a good idea to set up something within the Attorney General's office that looks at this, because you can't. because once it's going to be found eventually, and it's going to destroy the Republican Party. You're better off finding these morons now that are willing to take money for votes and willing to take money for whatever. Some of these guys are living pretty good that stopped doing what they were doing before. And so you look at that and you think, okay, how's that happening? So that needs to be looked at. And once you made an example of one, it'll go away, or it'll go mostly away
until a new crop comes in.
Until
term limits, institutional memory goes out the door.
That's true.
At the end of the day, the answer is integrity.
Yeah.
If you don't have integrity when you get there, you sure won't have any intact when you leave.
That is correct. Yeah. And when I ran for pro tem, I quickly learned who did and who did. Because when I was running for pro tem, what happened there, I'm not saying that, I'm trying to put this delicately, because I think it's probably legal, but shouldn't be. So what was happening there was people were being paid off with jobs. You know, a former senator leaves the Senate, gets a
six-figure salary.
Salary in exchange for
spouse did too.
I didn't know that part, but
yes.
Okay. So then we had somebody else down in Lawton that got a job he was never qualified for, and probably has lost by now. I think he lost his wife and stuff too in the process. But but that, you know, when you lose your integrity, you usually lose everything else. And so you do that. I mean, you know, and so you had, I don't know how the other guy got bribed, but then you had the whole freshman class got anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 in their campaign accounts.
That's right.
And so, is that legal or illegal? I mean, that's probably moot because it's already, you know, water under the bridge. But we can't have that. We can't have people being influenced by money and jobs. I mean, if it's not a crime already, it needs to be a crime, because the people don't elect somebody to say, oh, okay, well, I'm electing this guy, but if you'll give him $50,000, he'll just do whatever you want him to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at there's no cooling off period from being a state elected official and being a lobbyist the next day.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
So we've got Greg McCourtney, who is spending a lot of time in the corner office with his BFF Lonnie Paxton constantly, where they're cutting deals about what should happen with legislation, and then releasing it before they even notify the entire caucus, not just the Freedom Caucus. They didn't even notify their own people, because Lonnie Paxton and you've got Greg Treat, who is now representing a medical institution or organization. You've got Roger Thompson is now representing a medical organization.
Well, he's a retired physician, I think.
Roger Thompson?
Oh, no?
No, he's not a retired physician at all. He was a former preacher and ran a newspaper.
Yeah.
And now is representing. So you have these former pro tems or appropriations chairs that suddenly up there lobbying.
Yeah.
And
so again, the Roger Thompson, and I got along with Roger, okay, but have you ever looked at the date in which that happened? So you had a pro tem election coming up. You give your non-refundable resignation. What is it? Non-irredeemable, whatever it is. Non-retractable. I think it was June 5th. Pretty good with dates. I believe it was June 5th, June 6th. So that goes out. Within a week, he announces that he's got the job. June 12th, I think it was. June 14th, something like that. But the most interesting thing about that is that the date of the resignation, the date he actually will leave the Senate and no longer be a senator, is November, I believe, 5th. Like one day before Election Day or somewhere right there. So he can't attend the caucus retreat and vote for a pro tem because he will have conveniently resigned the day before. But yet it doesn't give time to elect a new representative in time to attend the caucus retreat and vote for a leader. That was entirely about machining that so that his vote for, what was it, Greg McCourtney running at that time?
Yes.
So he could not cast a vote against Greg McCourtney.
That's
he
right.
was bought off.
That's correct.
In the date there.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah, right. But the date.
Be sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah, on allegedly, right? Yeah. So, but the dates tell the whole story.
That's correct.
I mean, why else? Who would ever give a resignation date on November 4th or 5th? You would say December 31st, January 1st. Or maybe the day you decided to resign.
Yeah.
Because you're taking a $300,000 job. Maybe that's the date you should probably resign. The date you announce, I have a job.
Yeah. Instead of double dipping. And I would argue.
I don't know if he double dipped. I don't want to accuse that because I don't know that. But he had the job already.
If he had the job and he's
had
paid for it, and he's also being paid to be a state senator.
I don't know that.
I don't know that either.
Yeah, so,
but
I do know that the
there.
dates don't make any sense.
No, they don't.
I mean,
until they do.
Until they do. That's correct. And only insiders would know that. So, again, you're the guest. I feel like I'm talking too much, but I do want this Greg McCourtney thing. Somebody did send me, I think it was a Facebook post or something. I don't know why people text me these different things. I thought, I really don't want to read what Greg McCourtney has to say, but I did. He was slamming Chip Keating. Okay, Keating's a friend of mine, so I don't want to slam Chip Keating. So I don't want to go into that.
Yeah.
But what he said in there was how good he is. Essentially, the underlying message about Greg McCourtney. Well,
was it Greg McCourtney was good?
Yes.
According to Greg McCourtney,
right? And I don't want to get into
he's nothing if not consistent.
Correct. So I don't want to get into ideology where he stormed off of the Senate floor with trying to get Democrats to go with him because I had a bill to not require masks for everybody in a town.
Yep.
But once he got power, he was one of the, and I don't mean this physically, but he was one of the biggest jerks I've ever met in my life. And I've met a lot of big jerks. I've been sued by Germans and Austrians and Swiss people. I've been, I have had more knives stuck in my back than I can count. I've been in the business world a long time, but he is one of the biggest, again, not physically, not talking about his build. I don't want to be insulting that he's a big guy. But he's a big jerk. I mean, he's just such a big jerk that I don't understand how you could describe yourself as a good person, because he's not. Now he wasn't. Now before,
who's running a close second? Current floor leader.
Yeah, but I'm not served with her as floor leader, so I don't know.
I'm telling you.
But yeah,
the frustration.
This is Julie Daniels.
Julie Daniels.
Yeah.
The frustration with rank and file who feel so disrespected by her.
Right.
Is alarming.
Well, they said, one thing Lonnie opined in one of his briefs. He says, well, they're not building relationships. Well, Lisa got 7 bills, I think, this session, 7 or 8. Senator Standridge got 7 or 8 bills out of committee because she's a great person, has amazing at relationship building, in my opinion. She's one of the best team builders in business that I've come across. She's helped me build teams in all my various companies, our companies over the years. I'm not that good at that.
Well, she's fantastic.
I'm good at shutting my door saying you're not allowed in here. That's what I'm good at, and thinking about the next big thing. But anyway, she's amazing at that. And to say she's not a good relationship builder is just stupid. But she gets 7 to the floor. How many of those were hers? 0.
Yeah.
Or I think 1 because they wanted it done.
Yeah.
But but Julie Daniels, interesting you say that. Julie Daniels, so she ran for vice chair of the caucus. I'm dating myself. When would that have been? I'd say around 16, 18, somewhere in that time. She lost. I can't remember who beat her, but she lost. And then she came to me and said, because they tried to, back then they weren't trying to beat me. So they did try to beat me because they turned it into a single whip position instead of 4, which was better when it was 4 individually elected, because I didn't relish the idea of point, but I knew they put up Greg McCourtney against me, now that I remember, and 4 others. So they stacked the deck, and I still won. But anyway, so Julie Daniels comes to me and says, "Well, would you point me one of your assistant whips?" And I thought, well, she's nice, and at that time she was okay. And I thought, okay, well, she asked me. Okay, let me think about it. So I ended up doing that, and I don't regret that. But when I was up the next 2 years and won again, Paul Rosino and several of the others in that group called me and texted me saying before the election, demanding that I fire her specifically, get rid of Julie Daniels, and I'll vote for you for whip. That was the message, and I told her about it, and said, well, I'm a loyal person. I'm very loyal. So one of my biggest regrets in all of Senate, and I don't really have, this is not a big regret in the big scheme of things. I mean, I've been very blessed, but I reappointed her. I shouldn't have done that. She was already becoming a little bit of a jerk. She stabbed me in the back. In fact, when I was going to run for pro tem, she put her name out to run for whip before she even talked to me. And so I called her and I said, you don't even know, well, I've heard you're not, you heard. And she goes, well, I want to try some new things. You've been assistant whip for 4 years. Why didn't you try them before now? You could have tried. It's like, I want to try some things. She's so dishonest. She's become so dishonest and so disloyal. She switched her loyalty from the person that actually had her back for several years to, I guess, people giving her money. I don't know what her enticement to treat and those people were, but I regret that. I regret reappointing her sincerely. She's welcome to watch this and learn of my regret, because she turned into somebody she wasn't before.
Yeah.
And that's a sad testimony for. So she's going to leave the Senate, whether she leaves as a leadership. My hope is she leaves as nobody. But if she leaves the Senate as in leadership, she will leave knowing that that's the kind of individual she became, and that's not a good thing. I left the same person, just like you are, the same person as I came in. I think that's the best testimony a legislator can have, is I didn't leave as pro tem, unless I got there honestly. I didn't leave as this, I didn't leave as that. I left as the same person, the same beliefs, same convictions.
No, she was very, very petty this year. And last year, she was also petty. When I became presiding officer, they wanted to give me something apparently they could take away later.
Well, you were. Did they take that away later?
Because this year they took it away this year. But last year, when
I watched you preside some. Yeah. Okay.
My first day as presiding officer, she made sure that my daughter had to be up in the gallery, could not be sitting on the floor.
What difference does that make?
That's a good question.
Why would she do that?
She went out of her way to do that.
Huh.
And went out of her way several times to make sure I couldn't bring fit people on the floor. I couldn't bring a pastor's son on the floor with me, Oliver, who's just an amazing sharp kid from Harrow, Oklahoma. Oh no, you can't do that. Meanwhile, she lets Julie Kurt bring the children of a lobbyist that were up at the Capitol that day. Several of my colleagues had, he's the son of one of my men from my unit. Adam Pugh has a gentleman there up in the front and so I asked the question.
Don't get me started on Adam Pugh. Don't do it.
No. He needs to go back to Philadelphia or Pennsylvania. So at the end of the day, people come here, wrap themselves in the flag, go to Tinker, and then pretend to be core Oklahoma values, and then get elected to the Senate. It's an embarrassment. But anyway, you started that, not me. Wouldn't allow my shadows to come in. And I said, okay, is this a change of policy? I said, email her and ask her. So she changed the whole policy to make sure I couldn't have any shadows this year on the floor. People from my district that deserve to be on the floor to have that experience. Yeah. Meanwhile, allowing other people to do it in violation of her policy. Just a petty, mean individual.
She's turned that way. Like I said, she is a different person than when the person that I first appointed as vice chair, and that's a sad testimony. I mean, life is not a Senate gig for 12 years, or if it's.
And that was before. That was before I asked. I stood up in caucus and asked her to resign as the floor leader. That was before that.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, no, I did.
Okay,
I did. That was fun.
That allegedly, because what's in the Senate caucus stays there. But allegedly, I've heard that.
I said that.
Allegedly.
But the reason why is because she wrote a check to Dusty Deaver's opponent, the Mask Up, Vax Up, gave money to Joey Hoffmeister as part of the Oklahoma State Medical Association, ultra-liberal organization that pushes Obamacare, Jean Hosher, or whatever her name is, gave money from her campaign account against Dusty Deavers.
So let's explore that for a minute, because I heard about
caucus and asked her to resign. She declined.
So, but I assume that the Senate leadership PAC is spending lots of money to help Dusty.
Not at all.
And Dana Prieto and Jack Stewart.
Not at all. Meanwhile, recruiting your opponents and sending their money. And we go to those fundraisers to try to help them raise money. Yeah. They don't give us anything. They give it roundabout to go against us. It's insane.
So if the Oklahoma Freedom Caucus, maybe the Oklahoma Freedom Caucus should spend money against them.
I think we should.
Okay.
I think
one of these days, maybe we'll have some money. We'll
like and subscribe. If you want to send a contribution to Oklahoma Freedom Caucus, we'll put the link below.
Yes, we will do that. But this whole thing with Julie and this money. So I don't remember the caucus rules verbatim. I studied them when I was running for pro tem, because there's all this discussion about voting Treat out early. Treat may be surprised by this, but I always thought that was bad strategy. But anyway, that was bantered around. But every strategy is a good strategy if it's going for the right reason, the right result. But I don't remember. I thought that was actually a caucus rule that you couldn't actively campaign against a sitting senator.
Well, we asked that, and we know that that is the case in
The House,
in
right?
the House.
Yeah, okay.
But Kennedy doesn't feel like that applies to him.
Because he puts it through some shadow LLCs or
Absolutely.
something. So why didn't he just
Absolutely.
put his name on there and be upfront about it?
Well, I recommend that you go and pull his Guardian reports and see all the money transferred from his House account, which I think is about $500,000, into his fake run for AG, so he can continue controlling that money for the next 4 years, so he can continue to dole it out. See who Chris Kennedy is contributing money to, and take a serious look at that candidate, whether or not you want to vote for them. Ask
that's
yourself.
interesting.
Now, he may give to good people. But if Chris Kennedy is behind it, you should be very suspect. He is probably one of the most insidious and corrosive elements in Oklahoma politics.
So that money. So if you move that's interesting because I did hear that. So if you move the money to an account, even though you don't file and run for that office, that's legal.
That's what
I would
he did.
think if you don't file for the office, you have to give the money back or something.
He has a period of time that he still has control of that money.
But he didn't ever file for the office,
That's
right?
correct. But I believe the rules are that you can file for that following.
Oh, seriously? Oh, so you could say I'm planning to run for that
Yeah.
in 4 years.
That's right. Take a look at the rules.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there should be a time limit shorter on that.
There
Like I
should
could
be.
see you planning like a year or two,
Yeah.
but not 4 years.
Well, he probably plans on dispersing whatever.
Well, of
by that
course,
timeline.
I understand what his true rationale is, but I mean, from an ethics point of view, that doesn't make much common sense. You should have to have decided that like within a couple of years. I mean, I could see where I'm going to run for governor.
Well,
I'm
that's why
getting-
he transferred to a 4-year office, I believe.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I see
Maximize
I see he's not a stupid guy. I see his rationale. I think that needs to be fixed. I think that's a
Agreed.
loophole.
Agreed.
I think 2 years. Like if you'd have turned out 2 years ago and you said I want to run for governor this year, that would have been awesome. And so maybe you should have that 2 years but that's within reason.
Yes.
But to say I'm going to run for governor when it's up that very year and you're going to wait 4 years, that doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
From a political
I think
point
he
of view.
probably filed it for the
Yeah.
2026 cycle,
Right.
and then ultimately decided not to run.
Oh, you think he did? Oh, okay.
But I don't think he intended to run to begin with. That was
Well, of
it was
course.
a complete play to transfer it from one
Yeah.
and give him a larger
So now
window of access to that.
but he
cash.
can't raise any more. Well, can he raise money?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, because if he hasn't filed,
Yeah,
that's bizarre. Anyway,
it got my attention, but it hasn't got my undivided attention.
right? Yeah. Right. Okay, so we had some very interesting things happen in this. I mean, and I'll just tell you, the one that I find extremely intriguing and interesting is this whole benefits for illegal aliens, because I listened to the Speaker of the House, Kyle Hilbert, on the House side. I actually listened to his debate and question and answer on these. There's 2 bills, right?
That's correct.
What do you remember? What the bill numbers were on them? 44 something.
Yeah, 4422
One of them,
and 4423.
one of them, they're both about welfare benefits. Essentially, there's
Yes.
2 bills about welfare benefits for Oklahoma citizens.
That's correct.
Oklahoma citizens, right? And so you might Kyle Hilbert, some of the things he said really caught me off guard a little bit, because some of the people were saying that this is unnecessary legislation. But then I started Googling, and actually like 60% of households of illegal aliens are on some form of welfare benefit. Did you know that?
I'm not surprised.
Well, that's what Google's always right. I'm sure there's a number that's correct. That's
Yes.
the number I got. And Kyle Hilbert was attacked from all sides, saying this, and it wasn't this idea that it's wasted, because if it was useless legislation, then nobody would care, because we pass a lot of that. In my 12 years, I don't know about your 12 years, we pass a lot of meaningless stuff.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on welfare for illegal aliens? Those bills. I don't know if you listen to any Hilbert's stuff, but
I didn't.
in general, what is your thoughts on that as a Freedom Caucus member, chair of Freedom Caucus, before we get into the machinations of the last couple of weeks?
Sure,
what are
sure.
your thoughts on that?
Well, I would say kudos to Kyle Hilbert, who, unlike Senate leadership, engaged with the full spectrum of the political divide within his own caucus. And everyone had access to the speaker. We, as the Freedom Caucus, did not have access to Lonnie Paxton, even though he'd go and lie to the media and say he was willing to meet with any of us. He didn't. We tried to meet with him. The Freedom Caucus met with Kyle Hilbert, and we went over the legislation we cared about, the conservative things that he had run and other members of his caucus had run that we were willing to work with him to do. Those two in particular, bills we were enthusiastically supportive of as a Freedom Caucus, and it's a no-brainer. Some of those safety net provisions in place for the poorest of the poor are for Oklahoma families. So if they bounce on the bottom, we can get them back up so that they don't become wards of the state. But this is not intended to be a magnet for illegals to come in and begin to siphon off, and quite frankly, a parasitic load where they're pulling out of the taxpayers of Oklahoma. This was not intended for them.
So do you believe that illegal aliens are getting welfare benefits?
I do.
So some of the Democrats, because in the House, this was a partisan divide. This was not rhinos versus Republicans. This was a partisan
one of
debate.
Those social issues that tend to.
But it's a fiscal issue too.
It is, but it's also a political year, and it's always a political year in the House.
Okay, very. That is a very fair statement. So not all of those 80 people that voted for it may have voted because they believe in it.
Absolutely.
That I'll give the House. I'll mar the House with you on that. But we don't know which one of those 80. At least I don't.
Oh yes, go take a look at your freedom score, and if they have below 40, they're not real Republicans.
Fair enough. But from outside looking in, I don't know, because I don't really study the House, to be honest with you. I don't want to say I don't care.
Actually, my wife knows the House better than I do. Yeah, she's my resident expert.
But for as far as voters know, 80 people voted for that. And so 80 people believe that at least some illegal aliens are getting
80 people believe their constituents back home care.
That's correct. They do care.
They do.
Do they not care?
Absolutely.
So if you were to poll Oklahoma citizens, not illegal aliens, just Oklahoma citizens, Democrat, Republicans, Independents, what percentage do you think would say we do not support giving welfare benefits with Oklahoma taxpayer money to illegal aliens?
I would say that 95% of Republicans would be in favor of
How many Democrats?
And 80% of Democrats would be in favor of it. And the 5 people that are opposed to it are the Joy Hoffmeister Republicans, who are educrats who just registered to try to vote.
But they may
Yes.
vote to not give because they want more money for schools and roads or whatever else.
That's right. If you're a socialist, a Marxist, communist, or an idiot, you're opposed to that.
Correct. So another thing that Kyle Hilbert said is he said these are Trump White House request bills. Mm-hmm. So I was asked about that because I put something out there on social media a while back about that. I haven't asked Speaker Hilbert about that. I'm going to take him for his word. When I served with him, he seemed like an honest guy. Mm-hmm. Does that sound realistic to you?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes, it does. And Kyle Hilbert, Speaker Hilbert, has been honorable in his dealings with the Freedom Caucus.
So now I'm beginning to understand the 80 votes, right? For sure, whether they believe it or not. So you have Trump White House request bills. Mm-hmm. You have a 90% issue probably. Mm-hmm. And you have a partisan issue on top of that clearly believes somebody's getting benefits or they wouldn't have railed against it so much.
Correct.
So now what's the Paul Harvey rest of the story?
So we did a motion on the Senate side to bring it directly to calendar.
So for viewers and listeners, why would you have to do that?
Because Lonnie Paxton,
who's the author of these?
Who is the author? Ostensibly, he's the author, just like he was the author of the $5,000 exemption for homes. Right. He had no intention to run whatsoever. Right.
Because he's the pro tem. He can hold up all the bills of the House until he gets his stuff passed.
Hold it up for five hours, just like they did when they were drinking and drunk on the Senate floor
or
last
year. Or like the school choice bill or whatever else. They can hold it up or the budgets.
So it didn't move because he didn't want it to.
Correct.
Full stop.
Right.
Now, so what we did to highlight this dereliction of duty on a campaign year, to show the Oklahoma voters that pro tem Lonnie Paxton was protecting his leftist cabal of fake Republicans so they wouldn't have to take tough votes on the floor, we made a motion to bring it directly to calendar.
Is that a legal motion?
Absolutely.
Is it in the rules?
It's in the rules.
But it's against the Constitution. I think
it is not against the Constitution.
You sure?
Absolutely.
I heard a senator say that.
Because they're either one, ignorant or lying.
Or stupid. Oh, that's kind of ignorant, same thing, right?
Ignorant.
Okay.
I would say ignorant. They're not dumb for the most part.
But they're ignorant of the rules.
They're ignorant of the rules, or they want to mislead their voters because they made a stupid vote.
Okay.
And it was a stupid vote to vote against that motion. That it made it very clear. And here's the thing: they knew the motion was coming because we submitted the motion, and then there are within the rules. There's conflicts of when a motion is to be heard. It says it's to be heard in the order that it's received, but later it says the floor leader gets to schedule the business, and so they use that gray area to push it to the very end so they can come up with a strategy on what to do. And what they did, they threw some of their members under the bus.
I heard this.
They wanted to kill it so that it didn't move forward because they didn't want Freedom Caucus to have a success. And our success was just having good policy heard.
But let me back up for just a
Sure.
second. So you said good policy. Forget about the politics for just a minute.
Sure.
If the Freedom Caucus members took a vote and said, which policies do we want to move forward? Pretend that Pro Tem was actually receptive of this. Would this be a high priority thing that you would want to do, or would this be a low priority?
High
thing?
priority.
Okay, thank you.
It'd be high priority for the voters of Oklahoma.
I agree. Well, 90%
100%.
issue.
Absolutely.
I think Pat McFerrin or anybody else would agree with us. This is a 90% issue.
Well, Pat McFerrin, if he did a poll, would demonstrate that the people of
you know what I'm
Oklahoma
saying. He's
does.
a good pollster. I think if he,
He's a good pollster.
So
I don't know if
he-
he'd agree. I'm concerned.
No, I'm not talking about him
conservative
personally. I'm talking
Democrats.
about you're right. If he polled, I think what he would find, or any of our other great pollsters in Oklahoma, we have good pollsters, any of those guys, they did an honest poll. I mean, this thing is, if you did rural Oklahoma, it might be 100%, to be honest with you.
Yes.
But if you did all of Oklahoma, you're talking about 80, 90% return.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
No-brainer.
So this would be a high priority Freedom Caucus.
Yes.
So now you have, like you said, they waited till the end of the day.
Yes, and then it comes up
Okay.
to vote to bring it directly.
So they
to
knew it
calendar.
was coming, is what
They
you're
knew
saying.
it was coming.
How
Absolutely.
many hours did they know it was coming?
Maybe 4.
4? That's a long time
Yes.
in Senate time.
Yeah, maybe 4 hours. And so what they did was those that were going to be on the ballot this year, 2026, they were told vote yes. And we say that because we see they voted yes for it,
Okay.
knowing that they don't support those policies. Some of the same ones who got up and walked the vote whenever it was we were putting Trump's name on an exercise vote.
I thought they voted no the first time.
They voted yes. Some of them voted yes if they're going to be on the ballot this year, and the rest voted no.
Okay.
And then get lit up by, guess who? Their own constituents.
Right, yeah.
And so they either had to, one, blame
Create
the
a
Freedom
video.
Caucus.
Oh, this was the Gillespie
or it was
video.
unconstitutional, yes.
So the Gillespie video, the Reinhardt video,
Yes.
defending why they voted for illegal aliens.
A Broken
to have
Arrow has
medication.
tremendous heartburn and buyer's remorse. They thought they were electing a conservative.
I would
who
say
simply wanted
this,
to be in
that,
power.
and this would be my message to those that may had to make videos, that have to make more videos. That one issue, kind of like the illegal alien driver's license issue,
Yeah.
will never go away.
No, it will
And here's
not.
what I would say: if you do not get new leadership this year, Senator Gillespie, Senator Reinhardt, if you do not get new leadership this year that are conservative, you're gone in 2 years. You're gone.
Yeah.
But now,
You may be gone anyway.
You may be gone anyway, but conservative leadership would be your only safety net.
That's right.
So I would encourage them, fire your rhino leaders and get conservative leaders so that maybe they can protect you next time.
That's right. And reach out to the Freedom Caucus.
Because you've already seen how they'll throw you under the bus. Because they threw them
Absolutely.
under the bus 2 other
They
times.
did that. That was a complete loss of leadership
Yeah.
on Paxton's part
Well,
for not protecting
but they
their
rescued
members.
him the next time. didn't
Oh no, that was complete.
Okay, I'm sorry. We
farce.
didn't. I want
Yeah.
to cover this whole thing. It's such a good. Maybe it's because we're insiders. I find this such a great story.
Right.
So think about that. We have two Trump request bills. We don't have to call them two. We have Trump request effort.
Yes.
Donald. If anybody doesn't know, that's President Donald Trump.
Yeah, Donald J.
It's
Trump
not his son.
from the White House.
It's not his crazy aunt. This
Yeah.
is Donald Trump. The White House requested this from every state, not just Oklahoma.
That's correct.
And so, very common sense measure, just no welfare benefits that have federal money in them
Uh-huh.
for illegal aliens.
And yes, and time out,
Yeah, okay.
because this is hilarious.
All right.
So whenever Donald J. Trump, president of the
Right.
United States, before he was president, he flies into Tulsa, right, and they have those meetings, and they were not sure if he was going to be the heir apparent, and Ron DeSantis starts getting some support.
Oh yeah. So this is in 2023. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
who were the people that lined up to go meet with Ron DeSantis, who I love. Ron DeSantis is a fellow Navy shipmate.
But I don't like backstabbers.
No. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I
So
wish,
I still call him DeSanctimonious, even though he's an amazing governor.
fair enough. I wish he had made a push to be the VP instead of
State,
yes.
VP.
But this is what happened here in Oklahoma. All the Never Trumpers ran to Tulsa as quickly as
Who led the way?
Lonnie Paxton. And here's the crazy thing. This
And
is
then
what's
they elected
hilarious.
Pro Tem.
This is what's hilarious. You might need to sit down for this, President Pro Tem Paxton. But Ron DeSantis was one of the original members of the House Freedom Caucus.
That is correct.
Your virtue signal against Trump was to go support another Freedom Caucus member. So take that and smoke it.
And like and subscribe below. Right?
Yeah, and like and subscribe below.
Definitely ring the bell. But I have mentioned that too. This is what's baffling about politics is in Oklahoma to me. Because to me, loyalty is so incredibly important. I think you saw that when I served. I mean, to me, let's pick on employees. Like over the years, I do fire people quite often, but I'm an extremely loyal person.
That's why you're still in business.
So if I have employees that are loyal to me, even when they kind of become bad, I'm like the last one that pulls the trigger on that person.
Yeah.
Now, if they're not loyal, I'll pull the trigger quick. But I've kept some really horrible employees too long sometimes when they're that loyal. You know, I call them at midnight, they help out. You know, that kind of loyalty. So I reward that. It really bugs me to no end to have a guy, Donald Trump, take all of those bullets. I mean, literally.
Yes,
bullets,
absolutely.
and do all of that. And the second he's a little down, let's say he took a break, like he went on a camping trip. I got to have a break here. Mm-hmm. The knives come out and they stab him in the back. And they kick him in the nuts. They stab him in the back. To me, it's disgusting. And Lonnie Paxton was at the front of the line with his scimitar ready to stab him in the back. And he did. And then he kicked him and spit on him and everything else and said, "You're done, Trump. I'm with DeSantis." And I find that disgusting. That's why we got almost I was in charge of getting endorsements in that December 23. I'll never forget. I got like 6 people. You were one. I got like 6 or 7 people that agreed for Trump.
That's
6
right.
or 7
That's
out
right.
of a Republican caucus of 40.
I wanted to go meet Governor DeSantis.
And
I called them. I go. Why was I not called? I'm a Navy intel officer.
Yeah.
I'm in the state. Why wasn't I given a courtesy call?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, we're so sorry, Senator." And I said, "Who all did get a call?" And they gave me the list. I'm like, "Oh no."
Yeah,
I'm not going to this
Yeah.
because there were all the Never Trumpers were there, and it was a complete anti-Trump virtue signal.
Yeah.
Now, some of them went to meet Ron DeSantis. I get that there's a carve out, but most of them was anti-Trumpers that were there.
So I think
And I said, you know what? I'll meet him at a different venue, but I'm not going to that. And so we did. We met him at the 2nd annual State Freedom Caucus Network, and my daughter Esther and I got to meet with him, visit with him there.
Well, I still think he's one of the best governors ever the country's ever had.
To be a conservative
But I will
governor,
never vote for him for
you
president
have
after
to
that.
have a conservative legislature to send you conservative.
That's right. The Senate, Bob Lynn, I think I touched on this a little bit and I didn't finish my thought, but he was talking about the higher ed regents and all of that. Mm-hmm. To finish that thought, he was talking about, well, I need a powerful governor. I said, Bob Lynn, that's not what you need. You need a conservative Senate because it wags the dog every time. Mm-hmm. That's the tail that wags the dog. And if you have a conservative Senate, everything else is downhill. Even if you had a governor that wasn't as conservative, I don't think it would matter because they can hold up the budget. They can hold up what little trinkets he wants until he does what they ask him to do. Okay, so I honestly think that Lonnie Paxton hates Trump so much. I mean, how could you stab somebody back so quickly like that? So I think he hates Trump. I think that may have went into his calculation on killing the Hilbert Trump request bills.
Potentially, yeah. There was a lot of missteps
because he actively killed Trump request bills.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Not only that, I had a bill, and I've got to look and see which one it was, that was also a Trump request bill. And the White House reached out to Senate leadership and asked, we would like to do a presser to encourage this bill to be heard. And they declined. They didn't want it because I was the author.
That's not surprising.
Mm-hmm.
So these bills come over. So the Freedom Caucus says these are bills we want. We can't seem to get anything, so these are the perfect bills since they're Trump request bills, and plus they do a 90% issue. Let's pull them up. So that you said that they put the motion out, legal and constitutional.
That's right.
Legal and constitutional.
Following the rules.
Following the rules. You put it up. So what happened?
And then it got a majority vote, but it required a 2/3 majority. So those who were not on the ballot this year, the freshman senators who were not on the ballot this year, voted no to get it below the threshold.
Who would that be?
I don't have the list in front of me.
So I was saying Gillespie, Reinhardt,
Hines, Kern. Yes.
What about Avery Fricks? I bet he voted yes.
I'll have to double check that.
Yeah.
Now, what we can do is put it in the comments below. We'll put those votes in. Be sure to like and subscribe.
Right. I've got a screenshot of that somewhere. Sure,
yeah. So I'll get this to you. So basically, when we look at the analysis of what happened prior, based on what manifested on the screen, red and green votes, it was clear the breakout was those who were on the election block this year voted in favor, and those that were going to be on the election the following year voted no with leadership, so that it would fail ultimately, but they would have 2 years to make up for it and make nice with their constituents.
Well, because political,
and I don't think they were told that you're going to get beat up by your constituents. They probably just told those who were on you need to vote yes, so that you don't lose your election. So the Swamp 7, I believe, voted yes on it, and everybody else voted no with Lonnie Paxton.
So, but clearly orchestrated. Because I watched, somebody sent me a link to one of the videos. I think it was Senator Gillespie. It could have been Reinhardt. I don't remember which one it was. But one, they made an excuse that it wasn't constitutional or something like that.
Yeah,
like
silliness.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah,
and then maybe it's because they don't know yet. Like you said, maybe they're ignorant of the rules. But the one the excuse that was so lame was I didn't know, and it looked very orchestrated to me, and I wasn't even paying that close attention. And you're telling me you have 4 hours. You could file 1,000 more bills in 4 hours in the legislature. That's an eternity sometimes. So that it was orchestrated and known, and the end result was what again? Like not 32, clearly,
just below the threshold.
Just below the threshold. So my guess is the Freedom Caucus is diligent, hardworking, committed group. They probably did like my dad always said: if you fail once, try again.
We did.
Okay,
we
how'd
tried
that go?
again.
How'd that go?
On the second one, and it failed as well.
Well, no, but you didn't technically try, didn't you? Have an agent, like the author of the bill, that tried the second time?
Oh yeah. So to provide cover for those that got blistered for voting wrong.
Well, no, I'm sure he believed in the bill, right?
No, he said he did not believe in the bill.
Oh, why?
Initially, there were problems with the bill that he failed to articulate. Oh, there's some problems with the bill. That's catch-all why I didn't hear it to begin with. But then after that, he comes back in the next week, brings it up on the floor, gets all green votes to bring it directly to calendar, which is what we tried to do prior.
Oh, good.
Right?
Well, did you guys clap? I mean, that sounds good.
So we all voted for it.
And did you? I mean, that was awesome.
Yeah.
So was this early in the day? What time of day was this?
This was, and then they resigned. Then they adjourned.
Oh,
so they came in just to do that.
To vote to put it to the floor, but then don't actually vote for the bill.
Just so that they can try to erase the misstep
so it's
of
like,
the prior week.
It's like if somebody has a heart attack, you give them like one thump on the chest.
That's right.
So I almost got him back.
Cameras are rolling.
I almost got him back alive, but man, my lunch is getting cold. He's almost dead anyway. I gotta go. Right. Okay.
No, because again, it was Lonnie's bill.
Right.
And he can hear it at any the Speaker of the House and the President Pro Tem of the Senate can effectively waive any of the rules at any time. Yeah. He could have heard that the very last bill in legislative session. But he took off over a week trying to figure out how to undo the damage that was done by giving bad advice to his own members to vote against something that would poll 90% in their districts, and then allow his freshmen to take the hit because they're not on the ballot, so that he can save Grant Green and the others who are on the ballot who have abysmal conservative scores in the Senate District 28 and a 28 conservative score.
Oh, that matches.
That's an F.
But it matches the district.
No, it doesn't.
So you said
that's Seminole County. That is Lincoln County.
But you said it's Senate District
solid
28.
Conservative.
But you said it's Senate District 28, and they have a 28 rating. Isn't that what the goal is?
No, it's not.
What's your number? What's your Senate number?
96.
Oh, okay.
I must have missed a vote somewhere.
Well, mine was 15, so get off me, Charlie Meadows. I didn't get a 15. Okay.
You didn't have the Freedom Caucus there to help you.
That's true. Now, I had that damn Randy Bass seatbelt bill. That's what killed me one year.
That'll do it. Well, here's the other thing. And for those incoming senators and even those who are here, if you're sincere about legislating like you campaign. The Freedom Caucus is your best friend.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have all those analytical tools to take a look at the bill and compare them against our core conservative values.
And you have some mentors. I mean,
we have some mentors. We don't do AI. We can use AI, but we actually have people, and we have people around the state of Oklahoma that are helping with us to give us feedback, double checking our work to make sure. And of course, we have State Freedom Caucus Network out of DC that run oversight as well. So we have these tool sets available that will do recommendations on votes based on core conservative principles that you all ran on your brochures. And so if you want to vote if you want to legislate like you campaign, and you're sincere about that, Freedom Caucus will help you get there. Yeah. And we'll show you, here's how we're going to. So I go and talk to Senator Stewart from time to time. Great guy, Stewart. And I'll say, hey, this is not a conservative bill. And I'll explain to him. He's like, you're right, I missed that. And he corrects the vote.
Oh, Jack Stewart's an amazing guy.
We work with, you don't have to be a Freedom Caucus member. In fact, you can only be invited by the State Freedom Caucus Network in D.C. So it's not like you can, I'm going to identify as a woman. Now suddenly I'm a woman.
I'm applying.
You can't identify as a Freedom Caucus member. As a candidate, you can say, I will work with the Freedom Caucus. I intend to vote with the Freedom Caucus. I intend to do those principles that the Freedom Caucus stands for.
So I can join when I'm invited.
You can say, here's the thing. Those Swamp 7, look at the tirade we saw from Bill Coleman.
Right.
They hate us. Why? Is because if you're a hypocrite, we're a mirror.
True that.
And if you're sincere, we are your best friend.
So I'll tell you an asset the Freedom Caucus has. So, and I've said this before, this is sincere. You know, he didn't make you a senator, so this is not kissing butt. But one of the best people inside and outside of politics, other than Shane Jett, that I served with this guy a lot longer than you. Best people I've ever met in my entire life is Nathan Dahm. Oh. And Nathan Dahm is a solid Christian guy. He's a great family, great individual. But you commented on my Einstein books.
Yes.
Mainly because you were comparing me with the intellect of Einstein. I know how that was going. But anyway, but I mean, you talk about the Einstein of politics. And I know you're very savvy, but Nathan Dahm is extremely savvy and smart, but to dig into the weeds.
Yes.
That is such, people don't realize what an asset that is. I think that's what you and him are one reason why in the Senate it's so strong. Because people know that asset, and you talk about digging in for Jack Stewart and various other people, and I know Jack's not a member of the Freedom Caucus, but he might as well be. He's such a conservative.
He may or may not be. We have
yeah, we don't know.
Our list.
That's true. We will not disclose. In fact, I think I told you Charlie Meadows. I had to cut some out because we accidentally outed a couple people, but in the Senate. But on that, in that vein, though. I did talk about Jack because he's up for election. I want to plug Jack. I love Jack Stewart. He's just such a gentleman.
He's sincere. He's genuine. He knows his district. He knows his people.
He's one of the best people I've met in the Senate. He's a great guy. But I had Senator Burns called me a couple of days ago. Senator George Burns, a friend of ours in the Senate. And
who is a member of Freedom Caucus?
Absolutely is. He's a public. He's outed himself, but he's a great conservative member. And he called me and he said, he goes, yeah, how's Jack doing? You know, Senator Stewart. I said, he's doing great. Jack's a great guy. I'm sure he's loved across the district. And I said, I told George this. I said, the first time I heard that, George, I was like, who would run against Jack Stewart? When I first met Jack Stewart, I thought I was meeting Jimmy Stewart or John Wayne. The guy is, he's
solid.
He is solid. He comes across so well. And he's just so honest and full of integrity. You can feel it when you're in his presence.
That's
and
right.
I compare him to George Burns is like that as well, and Roland Peters. You know, those are the statesmen, like our kind of our elder statesmen, I guess you would say. I don't want to call them old. It's kind of our elder statesmen in the conservative side of the Senate. And so I would encourage all the folks out in Yukon or wherever Jack Stewart's district to vote for Senator Stewart. He is a phenomenal senator and a great gentleman.
Right.
And not necessarily a public member of the Freedom Caucus. I know he's not a public member, but he's a great guy. So don't hold that against him. But he's a strong conservative. But anyway, so we're not finished with this story. So for those, I know other people, the lay people out there's already tuned out on the whole Trump request bill story, but we're not done.
No.
There's some more interesting stuff to this story. And so people that maybe you can create a video of this and slice out where we get off on tangents. But so we had the one try, and Lonnie threw his Christy Gillespie's and Aaron Reinhardt's to the wolves, said, screw you guys.
That's right.
They'll forget about it when 2 years bullshit. That's
They
a
won't.
horrible
They won't.
prediction. That's
He failed them.
illegal alien driver's license. This may be worse.
Yes.
And they're still talking about the driver's license bills
As they should.
from what, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yes.
And so this will be talked about for years, especially as we hear of more states finding this fraud in our welfare system, because they're going to, the voters are going to assume, and maybe rightly so,
Yeah.
that illegal aliens are involved in this fraud, because they are.
100%. Well, and the crazy thing is they go, oh, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, then you won't mind if we make it illegal.
That's correct. That's
It's
correct.
the same thing with critical race theory.
Yes.
Oh, we're not teaching that.
That's
Then
correct.
you won't mind if we make it illegal. No, we can't
And then we
teach.
find the screenshots of the PowerPoints where they actually were teaching it
That's
to their
correct.
teachers in schools. But
That's correct.
so we had the one try, and Freedom Caucus made a great effort. 4 hours was spent for the other side to obfuscate and try to get rid of it. They couldn't, so they trained their SEALs how to vote correctly, but incorrectly. So they come up another 2 weeks, and Lonnie Paxton's going to be the hero. Strong conservative pro tem, gets up there, rails against the illegal aliens stealing all our tax money, pushes the vote to put it right to the floor because that's in the rules. It's not unconstitutional. Or
Yeah,
Lonnie Paxton,
the exact same
he
rules
might have to,
that we ran whenever
Right.
the freshmen were going, oh, that was against the
but
rules.
I haven't seen a video calling that unconstitutional
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's coming. But anyway, so he pulls it up. So power to the people.
Yep.
So he's pulling it up.
Everybody goes green except the Democrats.
Everybody goes green except the Democrats, and the Freedom Caucus is over there a little stunned, probably, maybe, I don't know, but it's up there.
Well, we knew what he was doing.
And so that means
It
that,
was CYA.
and according to the rule, if I understand that correctly, before the end of the day, that bill's going to be on the agenda, right?
And they never heard it.
Why not?
Because
he
he had no
ma-
intention to.
No, but he got the votes.
Yeah, to bring it to calendar.
Bring it to calendar.
And then not vote on
Did
it.
Julie Daniels, did the floor leader scream over she wouldn't hear the bill? Is that what happened?
Well, they're lockstep together.
So
and they hide behind each other. Well, that was her decision.
So,
well, that was his decision.
but there is another story. What happened to there? I heard there was a natural disaster essentially at the Capitol that caused you to have to leave early.
yes. So the water stopped working in the Capitol.
water! It wasn't the Mary Fallon sewage running down the walls.
No. It
Okay.
was the water stopped, and so everyone got to go home early.
So before it got on the floor,
That's
this
right.
horrible tragedy happened. Did anybody die?
Nope.
Nobody, because you have to have water. You know, I've been told you can live a long time without food, but water. You
Yeah.
can't go.
I think
Is that,
some
was
people's
that
integrity died. Whatever.
was that
whatever
the fear?
thread would remain.
Was that the fear because the water? Did the water really go out? I mean, I don't even. Is that real?
Well, somebody turned it off, or it was
Like this? It
yeah,
went off like this?
Yeah.
So maybe one of the
couldn't flush the
kids,
toilet,
maybe one of the
couldn't turn
kids
the
climbed behind the toilet and turned the water on, and Lonnie had a rough lunch and thought, "We got to go before this
We
seeps
got to
out
go
of-"
before they expose more of my shenanigans.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. No.
Now I'm talking here as a voter. If I heard you tell me, let's pretend, for instance, that let's say I'm a optometrist, you know, and you know it's the last day of session or whatever, and you know we've been struggling in our profession forever, and Senator Jett's got this bill that's finally going to do for my profession as an optometrist what finally needs to be done. So you're up there, you're working diligently, trying to get that new law passed that finally optometrists get the respect they deserve. And I love optometrists, by the way. And so I have good friends that are optometrists.
An
So
ophthalmologist,
all of them, I love them all.
anesthesiologist.
I've learned to love everybody when as a senator. I love you all. But anyway, so I love everybody. So I want this bill to pass. You want the bill to pass. So you get up there, you get the motions all passed, just like this Trump bill. You get everything's in order. You get it up there, and here it is. It's about to come up on the board. Pro Tem pulls up the microphone. Sorry, guys, we got to leave the waters off. What would you have to tell? What would you tell me?
I would have to. I mean, here's the thing.
Is
Rob.
that a valid excuse? Is what I'm asking you.
No, not at all.
So
We
why
both
hasn't
know this.
anybody said anything? That sounds like the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
I think the public are just fed up with the shenanigans.
Well, yeah, no, the public doesn't care. I mean, the public probably doesn't care, other than we still don't have illegal aliens restricted from welfare.
Right.
They do care about that.
Here's the other thing. There were no checks
All right.
for his and Julie Daniels' PACs or their personal contributions. There was no pay to play.
Oh.
There was nothing to benefit from them.
Oh, that's true.
So why would they?
Why would they do it?
And you can have, with alarming precision, predict what battleground industry fights are going to happen in the legislature based on the checks that start rolling in prior to session before the deadline. And then you can figure out who won post facto by looking who's making contributions at the outside of those legislative.
But I'm sitting
sessions.
here. You're right, Shane. But I'm still sitting here, still frustrated and baffled about the water. So who made the announcement?
I think Lonnie did.
From the pro tem seat, not from the dais, not from the presiding officer.
Yeah, I don't.
So how do you?
I don't
So
remember.
okay, I need to find somebody. I mean, when I'm in the Senate. You know me. Sometimes to find me, you got to go in another room. So right, I've heard it a million times. I know where I'm at on this bill. I don't need to listen to all this crap. So so I get you. I would like to talk to somebody that was there to understand exactly, because I'm sitting here thinking, how does that occur? So the floor leader gets the attention right in the middle between. You're in the agenda. You're from Senate Bill 1 to Senate Bill 2. Because there's agenda still going on, right? The agenda just didn't disappear. Just because they want to kill this bill, I'm sure there's other bills up there. So here we're between, and the floor leader's like, oh, I got a point to make here. Does she hand it over? Oh, the pro tem has something he's got to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Did the House adjourn?
I don't think so.
The water worked on that side.
I don't
So it's
know.
just an east side water problem. East side, west side.
So it's just the men's restroom was on, but the women's restroom.
So
was
jet
out.
all the way. Is that what it was?
Yeah,
East
yeah,
side,
yeah.
west side?
When you're a Jett, you're a Jett.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then whenever they came back in, let the bell ring for 7 minutes and
On what?
on roll call to bring everybody in for legislative session, and then said chair fails to see a quorum, we adjourn to the call of the chair. Bam.
What?
And then they were out for the rest of the week.
I heard about that.
All those shenanigans were going on, and what it was,
You know what's unfortunate about that? Sorry to interrupt,
No
but
worries.
what's unfortunate about that one is, for people like you a little bit, and for Senator Standridge and others that are close, not that big a deal, right? You trek all the way to the Capitol, and you're like, okay, because I got, you have a family. Family is much more. Just by the way, family is so much more important. God, family, Senate down here. Family is important. So for them to do their political BS, to make a show up there, so they just in truth, he only told his cabal that they didn't have to be there.
Right.
He didn't tell the conservatives, the peons, the ones that he allows to speak, but he doesn't tell anything to.
which also they try to cover themselves by saying there was nothing on the agenda. Well, here's the thing.
There's a nurse of the day.
There was nurse of the day. There was
who was my wife, Senator Standards is nurse of the day.
That's right.
So they could
That's
have at least
exactly
given her a courtesy,
No.
or her nurse a courtesy.
No courtesy extended.
Right. So anyway,
But they can also add anything they want to the calendar.
that's right, and it changes all the time.
And so when we do not trust them because they're not communicating,
Right.
they're sometimes legislating by press conference and not even tell their
Well, they-
inner circle.
In a normal time, that would have just simply been an email or text message saying, guys, we just can't get our agenda figured out today. Just don't bother coming in.
Right.
The pro tem's going to go on the floor and adjourn. No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. We'll stay home with our families, right?
that's right.
And so we don't get per diem or whatever. We stay home with our families. So we have people, you have senators in there that travel hours.
Yes.
That have families, that have husbands, that have wives, that have things to do and a living to make. You have physicians traveling hours to be there to sacrifice time with patients. He has two amazing physicians there, by the way, that do
Both
that.
members of Freedom Caucus,
Both
by the
members,
way.
but that have patients that rely on them, and so
Yep.
they're having to get substitute doctors so they
That's
can go to
correct.
the Capitol and vote for their constituents, for the people. They were not told because they're not worthy. They're not told because they're in a caucus that
Failure of leadership.
that's a simple courtesy. It's a simple courtesy both for them and their district to say, listen, guys, you don't need to come in today. We don't have any work to do. You may object. Senator Jett may say, well, that's stupid. We should do some work.
Yeah.
You can object, but you're
I
going
did.
to object from home if you don't have to go in. You're just sending an
Yeah.
email, say, well, we should be doing something.
That's right.
So you wouldn't go in if you know you're not going to do anything. So, I mean,
how many
I'm
people-
bothered by that. And again, on not only a political state level, but also on a personal family level.
Dereliction.
It's how little they care for those people. I mean, that's a simple human thing. You understand that what I'm trying to get at? You're focused on politics, and I get that.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to get to the human level to say, just from a human decency level, that's a very sad testimony for a human being to say, I care for you so little that I won't even alert you so you can stay with your family and your
disdain.
business and your profession.
Disdain.
And that lowered my opinion of Lonnie Paxton immensely, because I'm saying, it's just a common courtesy to say, you know what, I don't care for you, Shane Jett. I don't like your politics, but I love you as a fellow human. I love that you love your family. I'm going to let you stay home with your family today because I at least care about you that much. But yet that's how little of respect that he regards good people that serve under his leadership. It's a sad testimony. That moment for me was a low moment for the leadership in the Senate. For me.
Absolutely.
Because I'm
Absolutely.
now I'm over here on the personal side now. I'm on the family side. If my wife can stay home with me and my family, that's a plus for us.
Sure.
But that's and. I don't know. That really bothers me. So, but the drama's not over.
No. But you know what? That day, Trace Savage went around and documented there were 33 senators in the building that day.
Did he reported that?
Yes, he reported on it.
You know, I would encourage Trace Savage to look at that this whole thing a little deeper, because there's a problem there with, he ought to be looking at this pay to play stuff. He really ought to. And I think Trace Savage does an excellent job. But I just think that there's a lot of things going on there. Like, how are these people that were living well before, now they don't seem to do anything but Senate, and they live better than they did before? Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to mention names because that sounds like a criminal accusation. And now as an attorney, I know that's defamation, so I'm not going to say names. But I'm thinking
they're also public figures.
Yeah. So you just but I'm like, how and maybe they need some fake lobbyists up there, that can go around saying, yeah, I'll give you this, and see who accepts, right?
Yeah, they should. They should put up
It's an easy thing. It's like I used to say in the pharmacy world, they used to try to catch people making meth, with Sudafed, but then they just outlawed it all. I said, no, the easier solution was you put on a white jacket and come in here and see who buys a bucket full of it, and follow them home. Right. But anyway, there's the drama doesn't end with the water. Is just so stupid. I can't hardly get over that. But anyway, we'll get over the water. So we didn't do it there. We come back, they adjourn, but it's the 3 strikes and you're out. Now first we were following my dad's advice. If you fail once, try again. Now we're going to go with the baseball analogy, and you're going to say, 3 strikes and you're out. So you have a third bite at the apple. How did that go? When did that happen?
That very last day of session.
Last day. How did that go?
So we brought our motions up, several motions. That was one of them, to hear the other companion bill of the Trump no illegal immigration.
In general, though, no welfare assistance to illegal aliens.
That's correct.
Tax funded.
That's right.
Welfare.
And so I believe it was Senator Dusty Devers from Elgin Lawton area. Fantastic.
Who's up for election? Please vote for Senator Devers. He's an amazing guy, amazing senator.
Yes. And Senate District 32. He is also the
which isn't his score though,
huh?
Senate 32.
No, he's 100%. He's better than
making sure that
score.
We were joking about that, but I want to make sure that
his fantastic.
It's not their district score.
So I believe he's the one that submitted that. It may have been one of the other members, and
which isn't unconstitutional or against the rules.
No, it's completely within
Lonnie
the rules.
verified
the same
that
thing that Lonnie did before,
right,
trying to CYA and cover all the members he had thrown under the bus. And so what they did was they pushed it to the very end. And then they did move adjournment sine die, which is non-debatable, and immediately but it was also because they had resigned to the call of the chair. There was no debate. There's no discussion. It was over. Just like that.
They got
all of those.
I thought they got
died.
another vote on the board for that one. They never. I thought they did.
They only the vote. I believe was a vote to table.
Yeah, table. That's correct.
They wanted to table it. Yes.
Yes, and so it's the same vote.
So yeah. So we have 2 of those votes.
But you have 2 of those plus the Lonnie Paxton CYA vote, which is meaningless.
Right.
So you have those 2 votes.
It's meaningful in that you see what he's doing.
But I mean, I think on the last vote, the Swamp 7 voted no. If I remember,
you are correct.
Or voted yes to table.
I'll have to pull that. And again, we'll put that in the comments down below. Be sure to like and subscribe.
Right. Yeah, I don't have a screenshot of that one, so if you have that one, that'd be great.
I'll grab
but
it.
I think we have. Essentially, we have 2 real recorded votes. One of them very carefully orchestrated.
Yep.
But dumbly so.
The other one we cut him flat-footed.
Cut flat-footed, and then one in the middle, which is meaningless.
That's
which is a political vote only because the water went out.
Yeah.
This is a natural disaster. You can't predict those kinds of things. It's it's almost as bad as the 2013 tornado. So it's it's very. I'm sure Lonnie probably presented it in that kind of end of times way. Yeah. It's we don't leave, the whole world is going to end. So I'm sorry we can't take the Trump votes today because the world may end. And we can't really come back and do it again tomorrow because because
all the shenanigans.
Because of the wonderful things he does?
Yeah,
okay,
that's
right.
it. No, and the other thing, Rob, that they did is they voted to leave session 2 weeks early.
Okay.
And that's a recorded vote.
We sometimes left early, but we're talking days.
This was 2 weeks.
Yeah. And usually we left.
From April, they were trying to get by the end of April. Yeah. And the Freedom Caucus kept holding their feet to the fire.
Well, that's probably because they they cared about the Freedom Caucus, and they want to make sure you guys be able to get out and enjoy your families.
They were worried that the longer they stayed in, the more opportunities it gave Freedom Caucus to expose their vulnerable members as the rhinos and trans Republicans that they were.
So the votes this session. So when so now we have the session over. So, but the real reason probably, well, that may be one good reason. I think probably another good reason is they want those candidates they think are in trouble. Like, they probably care a lot about Dusty Devers is in a tough race. They want to make sure he gets out, has time to knock doors. Dana Prieto, please vote for Senator Prieto.
Tulsa Broken Arrow,
he is a
fantastic member of Freedom Caucus.
Is it Owasso?
Owasso, yeah.
Yeah, Owasso area.
918 area code.
He is a phenomenal guy,
yes.
Great conservative guy, member of the Freedom Caucus. So they wanted
founding member of the
founding member. That's correct, and he's been a public member since day one.
That's correct.
So, again, no shade against anonymous members. I love anonymous members,
we do.
Whoever you may be.
That's right.
And so they want Dana and Dusty and Jack and all these people that are on campaigns out there. You think that's part of the reason?
No, they don't want to keep the conservatives in. They want to keep those that promise to keep Lonnie Paxton and Julie Daniels in their corner offices and in control. Just like Bill Coleman said, the elections that are happening on June 16th are going to determine who controls the Senate. If the conservatives of Oklahoma want to be in control of the Senate for the first time in years, they've got to elect more Freedom Caucus members who actually intend to legislate like the campaign, not this cabal that's been electing Lonnie Paxton and his ilk for the last 8 years.
So they need to, what voters really, I think it's even, I'm not to knock the Freedom Caucus, I'm a founding member, but I think the more simpler message to voters is make sure that your candidate is willing to vote for new leadership.
100%.
This will be the most important. These freshmen that are coming in. So let's say that I think we have 7. We call them I think
Swamp 7.
I think Don Spencer is affectionately calling him, because that's a term of love, I'm sure.
Swamp 7. Endearment.
Yeah, he comes from Lower Louisiana, down Swamp Bayou area. So
right.
He misses home. So the Swamp 7. So they want to defend them. So if I were a voter, or if I was asked by a voter in one of those districts, and we can talk about where those districts are, I would ask that candidate one simple question. I'd say, are you willing to vote for new leadership? Because it's a complete cluster up there. And if they said yes, or if they even hesitated, they wouldn't be my candidate. I'd want them to say yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And I think in those 7 districts, they'll find a candidate that says yes, absolutely.
That's right.
Wouldn't you agree?
I agree.
Yeah. And it's probably not the Swamp 7 based on Bill Coleman's comments. So,
no, it's absolutely not.
Yeah. So, and this whole control word, that's a bizarre way to phrase that.
But that's what leadership is about, is control.
Right.
So even the 2 ranking members of the Democrat caucus, minority caucus, said publicly that they believed that they would be treated more fairly and would have their bills heard if the Freedom Caucus was in control of the Senate. And the reason for that, and they're correct, is because we will take those tough votes, because we're chomping at the bits to show our constituents, our core conservative Christian constitutional Republicans, that we are opposed to killing the baby in the womb. So if you want to run that bill, we will hear it and we will kill it and the world will see it. But those people that are pretending to be pro-life, like Ron Sharp and a lot of them that are termed out this year, they're not going to be protected from those difficult votes. They're going to either have to go against their core beliefs, where they think it's okay to kill a baby in the womb, or they're going to show the world who they really are. And then their constituents, armed with the truth, can remove and replace them with people who do reflect their values. Because right now you have people in leadership, and you can look at their conservative scores on freedomindex.org. That's not our organization.
Now, who is that? Who is Freedom?
That is the John Birch Society.
Oh, John Birch Society. Okay.
So they're the anti-communists from the 50s, where basically they're trained lay people on how to analyze federal and state government to make sure that creeping Marxism is not coming in slowly. So
And
it's
they rank
so they
state
based
and
on
federal
votes,
levels.
based
Okay.
on votes, not your rhetoric, not what you say, but how you vote. And then they, like the Freedom Caucus, they measure it to those core conservative principles and say, do you stack up or you don't?
Yeah.
And so Lonnie Paxton has a 40-something. That's a failing grade, last I checked, even in the public school systems. And you've got all of the Swamp 7. They're 28, 33, 42, 48. I think the top score is a 48. Still a failing grade. Where you look at the Freedom Caucus or the conservative core, 75, 85, 90, 96, 100, Dusty Devers. So the lower the score, the more aligned you are with lobbyists, the more you align with the State Chamber of Commerce, the more you're interested in giving away tax dollars to special interests. And the higher your score is, the more you're voting no. You don't want to give your constituents money to other people that don't deserve it. They should keep it in their own pockets.
Yeah, and it was an odd thing, though. I will say I've never been that big a fan of the State Chamber of Commerce. However, I would say this. You can vote for good business policy.
Yes.
And still get a very high ranking on and vote against, like I voted against every incentive I think that it was ever offered. I think corporate welfare is one of the worst things that Republicans champion.
It's insidious.
But I think you can actually do well. You can actually balance that and get great scores on both of those. So, but if you're totally loyal to the chamber, then your Freedom Caucus record or Freedom Caucus index will be horrible because
exactly.
they don't always put it though in their scoring. What they push for isn't always in their index.
That's true.
And the read score.
The read score is how much are you pushing to give corporate welfare out.
Yeah, though.
Now, there's some
that's weird because I always
stuff.
got a high rating and I always voted against every incentive.
Very suspicious.
I know. But
well, here's
unlike David Holt, he would go to the other room and make sure where it's going to be.
Yeah. So, David Holt, a trans Republican from the beginning. A new index that is just starting, it's been around for a bit, but starting to get additional play is the Christian Employers Alliance. Okay. Christian employers. Hobby Lobby is big into that. In fact, their general counsel is on their board. And they're doing what's called the Biblical Business Index. And so not only do they grade or rate your vote based on is it pro-business and aligned with biblical principles. Both. And so that's bbindex.us or .org. We'll put the link down below, and we can provide that information. But
so not to throw Hobby Lobby under the bus, but is buying billions of dollars worth of crap from China and reselling it 10,000% markup. Is that on there?
Yeah, we are capitalists in this family. But what I will tell you is, when you go shopping at
China
Hobby
party.
Lobby, you feel like you've been to church.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. I mean, I love Hobby Lobby on one hand, but on the other hand, I'm like, they just buy all this stuff from communist China and they mark it up to like 10,000.
They also buy it from communist Vietnam.
Okay, fair enough.
Come on.
Yeah, I mean they're good at business. I mean we go to Mardell's the same company, right? I mean the same company on both of those, I think.
I'm not sure how they're called.
I think they might be, but I mean,
think there's some overlay.
Obviously, we go to both those stores.
Yeah. And I went to Oklahoma Baptist University, and we have the Green Campus there, and they've been incredibly good to Malden.
Oh yeah, for sure. They do a lot of amazing good stuff.
They do, and their Museum of the Bible up in D.C. is
I've not been to that.
Fantastic.
I've heard about that,
and they have a smaller one on their campus here in Oklahoma as well.
I haven't been there.
So at any rate, the Christian Employers Alliance. If you're not a member, you should join. If you're a Christian and you care about these values. Because they're the ones that are encouraging the legislators to align their votes with biblical principles that are pro-business. And
what define pro-business?
Let's talk. Yeah, that's good. So pro-business from a Freedom Caucus perspective, or just a core conservative perspective, is creating an environment in which risk takers are rewarded because there's a fair system of laws that are predictable and that everyone is treated fairly and the same. So the best service and the best product will always triumph, not a business not going to triumph because they've given preferential tax status. So a good business environment is fair, equitable treatment for everyone who is in the market, competing for your business.
Well, I had an issue with them on the whole pharmacy thing because
so there's the PBM issue that
PBMs
that is
are probably the most crooked entities on the planet.
Agreed. But there's a difference between the vertical integrated, where they're assigned to CVS, and those that are private sector individuals who are actually.
But they came in and opposed small business because they thought it cost them money, and that's the most ridiculous thing. Again, they buy Chinese products and mark them up 10,000%, and then they don't want. Well, no, but PBMs are not a capitalist entity. They are not regulated at all. They steal money on every direction, and they try to drive their competitors out of business.
No disagreement there. Yeah. I would differentiate the vertically integrated ones that are aligned with the pharmaceutical industrial complex, or CVS or Walgreens in particular. Those tend to be wicked and evil. But what the problem is, we need to be able to differentiate between those that you have large corporations that can provide a value add to their employees by using the PBM structure to use their volume purchasing to get pharmaceuticals.
Just create their own. They don't have to worry about it.
That's what Hobby Lobby and some of the others have done.
No, they're utilizing another one, and that's the problem.
And you may know more about this issue, given your background.
To me, it reminds me of the OG. I had an OGA. I didn't mean to get off on pharmacy stuff, but I have to cover this. So I had a meeting with OG&E a few years ago. Ray Rice, who I think the world of. So I met with him in Charleston, as a matter of fact, and they went on and on about how these line companies are coming to Oklahoma and getting special privileges and special breaks and all of this stuff, and they're just a middleman that's robbing both sides. And I looked at Ray and I said, you mean like PBM's, the one you just put your name on the bill opposing, where we try to rein in this middleman? And he goes, touche. And they took their name off of that.
Very good.
Within 3 days.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And so there's these middlemen robbers everywhere.
Yes.
And they're smart business people. I don't know if I call them evil. I say they're taking advantage of
the system,
of the lack of regulations in the system, because pharmacies we're regulated to death.
Yes.
To death. But yet we answer to an entity that has zero regulation and takes pride in stealing money in a legal way from everybody they touch. And so just because one entity uses them for their employees that go outside their own system that it wouldn't affect, so it doesn't affect their own system.
Right.
But yes, occasionally they are out of their system, they're out of the network, and they have to go to a Walgreens or whatever. Well, screw it. That PBM middleman is going to have to be taken to task in that venue. But you can out them. Maybe this bill didn't do that, but I'm sure you could exempt the ones that own their own. But anyway, topic for another day. So we got through the drama. I just am so intrigued by this whole illegal alien thing. Yeah. I think this thing, political history, Lonnie Paxton's right in one sense. Typically political memory is a couple weeks. Maybe a session.
Yeah.
So if you were pro tem in this instance, and you were against these two bills that you author, sometimes you author bills that after a while you're like, oh crap, I don't really want to move those.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to protect some members. What would you have thought? How did he come? I'm trying to figure out, how did he come to that conclusion that this would just go away right away? And maybe he's right. Do you think I'm wrong in that this goes away quickly?
I don't think it goes away quickly. I don't think.
So they're up in 2 years. Do you think this will be an issue in 2 years?
I guarantee it.
I think it will.
Yes.
We will make
sure it is.
Yeah, but even without Don Spencer or OK2A, even without Freedom Caucus, I actually still think it would be an issue in 2 years.
I don't think the public's going to forget.
I don't think so
given
either.
an opportunity
because their
to say
opponents
no
are
to illegals, siphoning money out of the welfare system that should be for the
safety
the
net
poorest,
for the people.
Safety net for the poorest of Oklahomans.
Right.
That they chose not to hear that bill. They chose to vote against hearing that bill. I don't think that's going to go away.
I don't either. I think that was a poor decision.
It was.
Poor leadership all around, but that particular political decision, I feel like Greg Treat's helping him, but I don't think Greg Treat would have given that advice. I think he would see that this would stick around.
Yeah, well,
it should have killed it a different way.
Greg Treat would throw people under the bus. For example, whenever he got crosswise with Don Spencer, and Don Spencer called for the ouster of Greg Treat, which he accused me of orchestrating. I'm like, I just got here. he had Lonnie Paxton to carry his water and attack him on Second Amendment things.
Oh, that's public safety.
Remember?
Chair. Yeah.
And so that's the reason why he is the number one anti-Second Amendment, Lonnie Paxton, legislators, because he was attacking at the behest of Greg Treat, Don Spencer at OK2A.
Oh yeah, I do kind of remember that now. Okay. Yeah. That it's just been an interesting session. I think it's really empowered. I think this Coleman and similar talks like that now this is a thing, we haven't gone through these seats, and I don't want to take your whole day, but I mean, I found after I saw the Bill Coleman, I had somebody send me this debate that was sideways with horrible audio.
I saw that.
Yeah, it was sideways. I had to watch a debate, and I kind of almost want, because somebody had teased that you were mentioning, the Freedom Caucus mentioned, so that's the reason I watched a sideways, horrible audio debate. Nobody else is probably ever going to watch that, but I can't imagine watching it right side up with good audio.
Right.
So, but I watched that, and I just did not realize until I watched that video that you and Senator Brenda Stanley were such BFFs. I did not know. It was heartwarming.
Yeah.
So how did this relationship between you and Brenda Stanley happen? So the Bill Coleman video comes out, or audio, whatever. Anyway, which I would encourage people, and kind of like the other links we're going to put, I'll try to include a link to the Bill Coleman. I'll plug Don Spencer. He's going to be on the podcast pretty soon, I think. So I'll plug OK2A, as I always love to do, because the OK2A video on that is pretty good. So
I can imagine.
But so this video comes out, and so somebody sends me a link to this debate that one of the Swamp Seven, if you will, is having with their opponent. And it's sideways, and the audio is horrible.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I was like, do I really want to watch this? But they said, well, the Freedom Caucus mentioned, and so we want to. So I really watched it because I wanted to see, how you and the Freedom Caucus are mentioned, and I did not realize that you and Senator Brenda Stanley were such best friends, such BFFs, until I watched that video. But give us an idea. How did this love match? Sorry, Anna, but this romance, political only, start for you and Brenda Stanley? I mean, how long has this been going on, and do you need to disclose this to management?
Yeah. No. So the crazy thing is, everyone is trying to appear more conservative than they are, especially the Swamp Seven.
Evidently not Bill Coleman, but yeah.
Yes. So everyone's trying to virtue signal that they're conservative. And the truth is, Brenda Stanley is not conservative. She has, I believe, a 42 on the Freedom Index. Yeah. I know she's a public school teacher, but
she came in with the walkout.
Yeah, that's below 60%. So that's below a D. That's an F.
Well,
42.
the curve, maybe at the bottom,
on the curve.
As it's turning.
Yeah, for Gavin Newsom. But here's the thing. I may have co-authored, but I certainly debated in committee for one of the bills she was running, because a broken clock can be right twice a day.
Sure, yeah.
And so this particular bill was...
she remembers it vividly, evidently.
Yeah, apparently. And there's a reason for that, right?
Okay.
And you were there when I debated some of her bills. But this bill was... they have... contract labor at OJA. So in my district in Tecumseh, we have a maximum security children's prison.
Oh, that's correct. Yes.
So we have full-time employees.
It used to be called Boys Town.
Used to be Boys Town. Now it's Boys and Girls.
Okay.
So it's KOJAC now.
Oh, okay.
That's their acronym. And so someone in a very sinister motive let the inmates know, some of them were in for murder.
Yeah.
Let the inmates know that there's a different level of protection and prosecution depending on if you assault a full-time employee or a contract employee.
Okay.
So basically the word on the street inside KOJAC was if you hit the contract employees, you won't get in as much trouble.
Okay.
So whoever released that was just sinister,
That's
bad person.
Bizarre, yeah.
And so basically it was oversight. So Brenda Stanley runs a piece of legislation. Well,
At request of OJA,
Of course, it's a request bill. But it's good policy.
Right.
Good to put that protection in place so that kids
But it wasn't thought of by the senator.
No, not at all. And so in order to appear conservative or throw
good policy,
she
right?
But here's again, my policy is I don't care about the personality, I care about the policy.
Right.
So it's policy over personality, principle over politics, and so.
But it's not this is not conservative versus liberal. This is just good policy.
Some cleanup,
which is most
policy.
of what is done in the legislature. Is just
Often.
policies. I mean, the Trump request bills I would call those opportunities,
Right.
which don't come along that often.
That's correct.
So
now,
most of what you do is pretty boring.
What contrasts the overwhelming majority of our legislative relationship is that Senator Stanley runs request bills for medical mandates, for cancer screening mandates, year after year after year. And quite frankly, I believe that Senator Stanley has probably done more to raise the cost of everyday families' medical insurance than any other one senator for the last decade. And what happens is she will run a cancer screening, some sort of cancer screening bill. And the presentation is, she had a spouse that died of cancer, and that's heart-rending. And I think the lobbyists know that.
Okay.
And she presents that.
It's very personal.
Yeah, it's very personal.
That's
and
tough.
so you get a personal story along with really bad policy
Right.
that enriches the insurance company
Right.
to be able to raise their price and
Even
their
more.
insurance coverage for the policy holders without having to spend $1 of marketing.
Right.
And so I explained this to Senator Stanley in her office in sincerity, going, look, I'm a business major from Oklahoma Baptist University. This is what's happening. I said, they probably violated your HIPAA whenever they found out that your husband died of cancer.
Yeah.
But they know that you're going to be an easy sell. And then they're getting you to push policy that's going to raise everyone's premiums, monthly premiums. And I did the calculation one year. I think it was like $32. So every year, $32 more taken out of your pocket and put into the pocket of insurance agents, because Senator Stanley keeps running legislation, even after I spent a number of conversations with her trying to show her why I was debating against her bill on the floor. I go, here's why. I said, they're only doing this because they get to, their actuaries come in, they calculate the total
It's always in their favor.
coverage, and then without having to spend a dime on marketing, they just buy lobbyists who come in and rent Brenda Stanley, and then they raise the price for everybody. And everybody wins, except Brenda Stanley's constituents, my constituents, Lisa Standard's constituents, and no matter how much I explained that, how simplified it, the win for her getting legislation passed and the accolades for her saving lives. In fact, now it's become a caricature phrase. It saves lives, people. Because there was no more logic when I was asking the questions, trying to show the rest of the Senate that this is going to raise the price of insurance for everyday Oklahomans. She had no other logical thing to say other than it saves lives. It doesn't. What saves lives is being able to afford insurance.
Yeah, you have to be able to afford, and it's becoming unaffordable. And that's the problem these days at the Capitol. My last few years were spent there listening to people, maybe not say it as eloquently as you and Brenda Stanley do, but telling me that if we don't spend this $10 million or $20 million, or we don't vote for this mandate, that people are going to die.
That's right.
I mean, the one thing that they always try to pull on your heartstrings. It's the leftist mode. It's it's the MO that they use all the time. And I remember this, age out in foster care. It's a horrible thing. You think of these young people, these kids, they spend this time in foster care, which is not a good time typically. No. It's not. It's as best as we can do. Hopefully, we hope as legislators, we hope the programs that we have do the best for these kids as possible. But you could spend all the money on the planet, all of the money, Shane, and you would never do enough for these. So it's not about money. So you got to have churches, you got to have nonprofits, you got to have these people step in the gap
personal accountability,
without the state coming in. And so every time they pull up another 15 or 20 million, they'll say this is for these kids.
That's right.
And it's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing for people that are supposed to be fiscal conservatives to use these heartstrings to spend another money because a lobbyist came up and said, my program needs this more money.
That's right.
And that's where we're at.
So and we've seen all kinds of emotional tearjerk, and you always know that there's going to be bad policy affixed if they named it after some victim.
Yeah, it's almost every time.
That's right. You have Senator Paul Racino, who is the master at
running
bad policy, and then having the family setting up in the gallery, so we all have to stand and clap whenever we have just squandered millions of dollars so that he can virtue signal for some family. And it's such a shame because they have no idea that he's using the tragedy and emotion of their loss to make things bad for all of Oklahoma, and we all pay for it.
But really, I think the reason is for somebody like that is for the relationship with the lobbyist. for a relationship with some employee at the agency, the bureaucrats or the employees, to make them happy they're getting more money, or the lobbyists. I don't even think people like that even look past a half an inch deep on what really happens with that $20 million.
Right.
I don't think so. They just hear the story and then they just spread the sob story.
Right.
And it's the opposite of what we put on our mailers. So we go back to these races. So we've alluded to the Don Spencer, or the OK2A infamous Swamp 7.
Yes.
Again, affectionate term. Don is
term
such
of
a,
endearment.
he's such a sweetheart. He's such a soft-tendered guy that it can't be anything but a term of love for him. You know that.
Of course.
And so where are those races at? We have Bill Coleman. That's up north, right? Is that Ponca City?
That's Ponca City area.
So
that's correct.
so I would ask those candidates in that race to simply say, will you vote for new leadership? I mean, I think that's a very sensible question.
Very
so we have Brenda
straightforward.
Stanley. That's Midwest City.
That's right.
I assume there's one or two people running against her. And so that's a simple question for those candidates
That's right.
is, will you vote for new leadership?
Yeah.
Because maybe we want this illegal alien thing fixed.
Yeah.
Where else do we have?
So we have in Brenda Stanley's district, that's district number
42. isn't that-
42.
Oh, so that's about
42, and she has a 41 on her score. She's an F,
she's
41.
she's a point
so
off.
she's just off.
So raise it up a break
Yeah, Grant
point.
Green is district 28, and he has a 28 score as well.
Oh, that's perfect. Now,
Melena Bratt.
Does Grant Green have an opponent, I assume, right?
Yes, he does.
Okay. That's Robert Trimble, isn't it?
Yeah, Robert Trimble.
Robert Trimble's
He's
awesome.
an Army veteran,
Yeah.
a small business owner. He owns the Amish furniture.
Yes, you got to plug his Amish furniture store too.
Yes, Noah's on his, and that's his son.
That is his son.
That's
but,
right.
Okay, so you know what? Go in there and buy furniture. Absolutely, it's the most amazing furniture everywhere, anywhere. But this is not Mathis Brothers. This is good stuff.
No.
Sorry, Mathis. But anyway, but you know what you better buy before you leave that building?
What's that?
Those dang cinnamon rolls. Those things are amazing. You should go over there
Let me tell you
sometime.
something else. Robert Trimble has a John Deere, industrial strength John Deere homemade ice cream maker.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And he did a homemade ice cream social for one of his campaign of his. I got like 3 tubs, and I got 4, but I just ran out of space.
Well, you were there in support, brother. You take your ice cream.
You take it home with you. That's right. Yeah.
The family wants ice cream. So,
right.
okay, so we have that one that matches the score. That's very appropriate for Grant Green to get 28, and he's in 28. Okay, who else we got?
So we also have Senate District 2. That's in the north eastern part of the state.
Okay.
So kind of Claremore area. You have Allie Seifrid. She has a 33%. That's an F.
Now, that's Marty Quinn's old district, right?
That's Marty Quinn, a solid conservative
Marty
who's running
Quinn,
for
33.
insurance commissioner.
Marty Quinn, that's bizarre because Marty Quinn would have 3 times that number.
Yes.
I don't even know what his freedom index
Upper
would be,
80s.
but he
It was
would be in the
upper
90s or
That's right.
80s.
Yeah, upper 80s and lower 90s.
Marty
That's right.
Quinn, by the way, would be amazing insurance commissioner. He's an awesome dude, but he has got to be. I mean, he's gotten his own campaign, so I'm sure he keeps his nose out of this. But he has got to be disappointed that the person that followed him would be so weak on conservative issues.
I think anybody but Gavin Newsom would be disappointed in her.
Okay, so she's got an opponent, so you need to ask that question. Will you vote for new leadership? It's a very simple question.
Yeah. And the opponent there is Peyton Pepin,
Pepin?
P-E-P-I-N.
Okay, Pepin.
Yes.
All right.
And then Senate District 4, Tom Woods. I love Tom Woods.
He's a nice guy.
He's like a really tall little brother.
He's a nice guy.
But he has a 40.
He's not a good senator.
He has a 46.
And he got bought off in my pro tem race because that was a horrible thing. I think they gave him like 40 or 50 grand because he had loaned his campaign so much money that I'm sure he was financially strapped. But that's not a good excuse.
No,
it's not a good excuse.
And his opponent is Kenny Smith. I believe he's a pastor.
I've heard really good things about him. I think
too.
Dr. McIntosh and some other people have told me some really good things about that guy.
Him seemed like a very solid guy.
Yeah, so you need people of strength. I mean, poor Tom Woods is a young man. Maybe he grow a few years. Maybe get more mature, 10, 20 years where he's not going to be bought and paid for so easily. So you grow get a little bit of experience under your belt. I think he joined the military, so maybe that'll help him mature and come back when Kenny terms out in 12 years. He can come back and serve some time.
Yeah,
But again, ask that same question, Kenny, Tom. Will you vote for new leadership? And I think that'll be a yes on the Kenny side and a no on the Tom side.
Yeah. And then you have Senate District 10. That's Bill Coleman. We already talked about him.
Now he got a free
42.
Oh, I figured he got a 10.
No, he got a 42.
So him and Brenda should change districts then because she's
right.
closer to his.
That's right.
So Bill Coleman. Bill's a nice guy too.
He's a nice guy, but here's the thing.
But he's got a
do
temper.
Do you want a nice guy? Yeah, he has. We
Man,
saw that.
I did not know he had
Do you
such
want a nice
temper.
guy or someone that's going to go up there and fight for you to keep your dollars in your own pocket, or is going to spend them for you? Who spends your money better?
So I have to tell this though about Bill, because I kind of like Bill Coleman.
I like Bill.
So, but I was running for pro tem, and so back whatever year, 22, whatever year that was, and so I you know, and I love to fly. Any excuse for me to fly around, so it wasn't that difficult. So I flew up to see Bill up in I think we met at Stillwater. Again, nice fella. So I sat down with Bill, and I just had a simple plea for Bill. Bill and Casey Murdoch are best friends.
Yes.
And I love Casey Murdoch is one of my best friends when I served. I love Casey Murdoch. He is a prince of a guy, good guy, but very political. Casey's a political animal.
He is political.
I like that about him on one hand, but sometimes anyway, neither here nor there. But one thing we knew for certain, that if I got elected pro tem, that Casey Murdoch was going to get punished beyond belief. We knew that. Casey knew that. I knew that. So if I were to win pro tem, or if I were to run and not win,
your opponents would punish
so if I
you.
no,
Yes.
I worded that wrong. If I ran for pro tem and I lost, that my supporters, such as Casey Murdoch, and he was an outspoken supporter,
Yeah.
and Cody Rogers, that Casey Murdoch was going to get severely punished. The proof is in the pudding. We can get there. But he was going to get severely punished. So that was my single message to Bill Coleman. You know, it's God, family, friends, if they're true friends. Somewhere down here is Senate, right? Especially Senate leadership is really
right.
down here. So my plea to Bill was very simple. One of your best friends in the world, so I hear, is Casey Murdoch. If I lose, he's going to get the crap kicked out of him. Is that what you want? No, that's not what I want. Well, then vote for me. Well, I don't know if I can do that. Why not? You know, it's went back and forth. I'm not saying he's a moron, but it's some really moronic answers. I think in the video I showed you earlier, I said moron. When I say that, I mean it's a moronic move. It's a stupid move, like running the racist DI bill. It's not that he's a moron, but it's a moronic thing to do.
Yeah.
So just like that, I mean, how can you look at somebody in the eye and say, yeah, Shane Jett's my best friend, but yeah, if they kill him after this, you know, so be it. You know, so that and politically, that's what he ended up getting, was a political death. They took his chair. They didn't even put him on the ag committee. One of the biggest ranchers in Oklahoma, certainly the biggest one in the legislature, because I've been to his ranch. It's huge. His family, they're big ranchers, cattle ranchers. Shot a lot of what are those? What do we shoot up there?
Prairie dogs.
Prairie dogs
Yes.
up there. A lot of fun. And so I left that meeting just stunned. So Bill Coleman doesn't have the stuff to be a senator. If you don't have the stomach to stand up for your friends, I mean, who would want that guy in a foxhole with you? I mean, the Nazis come along and go, "Hi, Hitler, I'm gone. See you later, Shane." I mean, that's what he would do. That's what he did. I mean, he essentially did Heil Hitler to Casey Murdoch and said, Casey, you know, I'm sending you to the dogs because leadership is more important to me, which is so shallow and silly. So I would say that Bill Coleman deserves to be beat because he has no core. He has no core.
And the people in Senate District 10 watching that video, is he there representing you in Ponca City?
No, he's there representing Lonnie Paxton.
Or is he there representing Lonnie Paxton?
He
the
is.
answer is clear.
Yeah, the Chivas Regal and the steak vendors is what he's there for.
So his opponent is Jaden Terrazas.
Don't. Some sense it's just better to use it.
Terrazas.
It's not Coleman.
Is not Coleman. The not Coleman option.
But so it's which that's how McCourtney lost, and I don't want to knock his successor because he's a great guy, but I'm sure a lot of people have said it's not McCourtney. But yeah, Terzasis, is that right? Something like that.
Terrazas. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Anyway,
we'll find out. Hopefully, we'll
I've
find out
heard-
when we pronounce his name as with a senator in front of it.
Yeah, I've heard he's a really great guy and has a backbone, and not a backbone for the lobbyists and dinners and Chivas Regal, but for the people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say
yeah.
McCourtney's replacement was phenomenal, and that's
Yeah.
Jonathan Wingard.
Yeah, absolutely. Senator Wingard's phenomenal.
Solid, conservative. Put tremendous amount of pressure, leadership put pressure on him, and he stood with us.
He's a strong dude.
So I'm not disclosing if he is or isn't a member, but I will tell you that I admire his courage.
He's got a great snow cones too. if you're ever down in Ada.
I didn't know that. I know that he packs meat. I need to take
yeah, he has that
down
too. He's
to,
he's an entrepreneurial type guy.
Yeah,
he's got
fantastic.
snow cones down there. He's great.
He's an Army veteran.
But Jaden's great. Same question. I don't even know if you need to ask Bill after the video. If you haven't seen the video, though, you can ask the question.
Yeah, Bill represents
vote?
Lonnie Paxton.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be represented by someone who's representing someone else,
right,
then
vote
maybe
for
you need
Jaden.
to replace him. Yeah.
All right, so we got him.
All right, so you have Senate District 12. That's Todd Gallagher. He's an attorney.
Another nice guy, by the way.
And he has the same score as Grant Green, 28. F. 28%.
Wow, that's horrible.
F. That's right.
But again, some people, I don't know why they do this. Some people, and again, I actually like Todd Gallagher. I think he's a nice guy.
He's likable.
But and I can mention that about a lot of people. People misunderstand what I say sometimes when I describe the Senate. They think when I say somebody's a rhino, sometimes when you say trans or whatever, that doesn't mean they're horrible people. That means they're either bad senators. That doesn't mean they're bad people.
Yeah,
they have no backbone.
I would love for Bill Coleman to read a storybook
or live next door to you and have a barbecue in his backyard.
Yes.
He's a nice guy. Same way I would say about Todd Gallagher.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy.
Yes. Has no
Senator
business in the
Standridge,
Senate.
Lisa likes Todd Gallagher. He's a nice guy. He's got a beautiful, nice new wife that he seems to adore, and so. But he approaches the Senate like he did when I was running for pro tem, as if he is being directed to what to do, as if his pro tem is his commander in the military. That's how he sees it.
I find that's an occupational hazard sometimes with the military.
It's a serious occupational hazard.
I watched that.
It's not
because
appropriate.
You're not there to take orders. You're not there to protect your commander in chief. You're there. You are the commander in chief for your Senate district.
That's correct.
And you're there to protect your troops back home.
You don't answer to anybody
That's
but
right.
them. And so I respect military, of course. I have a lot of military in my family, but that's where it stops.
Yeah.
And for some of those folks, like him and Hines and others, they think that they're there, that Lonnie Paxton is their general and that they do what he tells them to do. And that's a horrible
in
place
the way
to
it's
be.
supposed to be is that's the help. Your job is to be a traffic director and move the legislation along smoothly.
A cheerleader, if you will.
There are elected officials.
Yeah.
We elect them.
And you take heat to protect the caucus. I mean, sometimes there's a controversial issue that you have to. It's not a Trump request bill, by the way.
Right.
But there could be a far right bill that you need to take bullets for to protect the caucus, and go for it.
Yeah.
But you better do it with a pure heart and think that that's the right thing to do for the caucus. Anyway, so who else we got?
Yeah. So the next one is Senate District 20, and that's the Appropriations Chair, Chuck Hall. He's former lobbyist, banker.
Okay.
He was a lobbyist for the Bankers Association before.
He was a registered lobbyist?
Yes.
That's unusual. Usually
Oklahoma Bankers Association.
I did not know that.
Yes.
That's very unusual.
I read people's profiles.
So typically, though, when you become registered lobbyists are rarely ever successful, even when they're not registered. In fact, Tom Woods, I think, won because they called his opponent a lobbyist, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Because he was a highway patrol, they said he was a lobbyist for public safety, but I don't even know if he was ever registered.
I believe he was. I think he was a legislative liaison.
Okay.
For the highway.
So he had to register as a lobbyist. So they used that against him. I saw some of the mailers. Yeah.
Yes. So he has a 45%
he's at the top of the list.
in this group.
In this group, Chuck is ultra conservative, right?
Yeah. So and then his opponent looks like is Mark Lamar.
I've heard really good things about him.
I have
I've
too.
never met him or talked to him.
Maybe a pastor.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, and that he's been a mayor in that district and knows the area really well.
I heard he's been knocking doors for
I've heard
18 months.
And if that's true, he should have a good shot.
Yeah.
So, but the same question applies: will you vote for new leadership for Chuck or for Lamar? Whatever.
That's right.
Mark, is it Mark? You said
Mark Lamar.
Mark Lamar. Yeah.
That's right. So that's Senate District 20, and then Senate District 28. Grant Green, we already said, has a 28th failing grade, a conservative grade F, and then Robert Trimble. Who Amish furniture, cinnamon rolls, and homemade ice cream.
That's right. He's an awesome dude.
Yeah.
He's an awesome dude.
And then finally, we're back to Senate District 42, Brenda Stanley over there in Choctaws, my former Senate district.
Right. The east side of that was your former district, yeah.
Yes, that's right. And she has the 41, and Melena Brack.
Yes.
Is red hair and pastor's wife, entrepreneur, author, and very sharp and articulate.
So most importantly, though, about Melena, who I visited with a few times, I like her. And by the way, I knocked doors for Brenda Stanley 4 years ago, just so you know. Me and David Bullard, Senator Bullard, we knocked doors for her. And here's the reason. Because at that time, she assured us that she was trying to get on the straight and narrow and do it. And her opponent, to be honest with you, but I had high hopes. She voted for me for pro temp. I mean, and so she was wanting, I think, to go. You have people come in, and you hope that they go this way. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they go this way. Sometimes they just go that way. So we had a lot of hopes for her. So on a personal level, I do like Brenda, and I think I like all of these people. Let me go.
Just shouldn't be in the Senate.
Yeah, it shouldn't be in the Senate. Not bad people. Senator Standards had a 100% rating on her.
And she earned every point of that.
Definitely. A lot of blood spilled there. And we have a Kendall Sacchieri.
She's courageous.
Okay, so Kendall Sacchieri, I intentionally mispronounced her name, but her and Ray are phenomenal people. I've known his dad, Tom, for many years. He used to be the mayor of Blanchard, actually.
Is that right?
Years ago, and a patient of mine. That's pretty cool. So we have another 100%. So we have Lisa Standridge, 100%.
Yep.
Conservative index. Kendall Sacchieri, 99.9, no, 100% conservative index. Julie McIntosh, you know her very well? She's amazing.
Oh, she's fantastic.
She's a physician. Did you know that?
Yes, she's a physician.
So her and Randy Grellner.
So is Randy Grellner, both members of the Freedom Caucus.
They are.
Yes.
I think you mentioned that previously.
Yeah.
Those
very proud of them.
They're part of the Fab Five. I haven't even got to that yet, but they're part of the Fab Five, which is my moniker, not theirs. But anyway, so Julie McIntosh, she is just awesome. I love Julie McIntosh. Her and her husband Brad. He's a physician as well, by the way.
Correct.
Got some Einstein genes going through that family. They're smart people.
Smart
people. Good people. Very good people.
Did I mention the Freedom Caucus?
I think you did, but not Brad yet.
But they're very bright. You already pointed
they
that out.
They are very bright, but that's right. It goes hand in hand.
Right.
Freedom Caucus, very bright. And Julie is the treasurer of the Freedom Caucus. She's an office holder, correct?
That is correct.
So you have 3 100% conservative index champions, conservative heroes, warriors.
Yes.
And these women are tough. I mean, these women are. If I got in a fight with any 3 people in the Senate, these would be the last 3 I'd want to fight with.
Yes.
Give me Bill Coleman, even with that tirade anger. I think I'd rather get in a fight with him than these 3 girls. These girls are fighters. They are tough as nails.
Not only that, but Kendall Sacchieri, while she's doing the tough questions, she's debating, she's also making a human being.
Yes, I've heard that rumor. Yes. And I think Ray knows. But they don't know what they don't know the gender. It's fluid, right?
Yeah, they're going to wait until the child goes to kindergarten, and then the kindergarten teacher will choose it for them.
They'll choose.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah. I like that. Yeah, I don't think I've heard that part of it, but I've heard they're waiting for a surprise. But anyway, that's interesting. That's
surprise.
Fun. I have to tell Ray that we talked about that. Okay, so do you know who the Fab Five is?
Fab Five. That would be the freshman class that came in last election.
Well, yeah, but there's 13 of them. So I have come up with my own. Fab Five.
That would be Lisa Standridge, Kendall Sacchieri, Julie McIntosh. We call her Good Julie.
The Good Julie.
The Good Julie.
I can appreciate that.
And there is a bad Julie. I'll let you guess who that is.
She has gotten a lot worse than when I was there, but yes. I think she's earned that.
And then
Grellner, number 4, yep. Randy Grellner.
And
who is an MD and part of the Freedom Caucus, if you didn't know.
He's very bright.
He is very bright.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. Is his middle name Renee?
No, it's not. He's not French.
Yeah,
but Grellner, I have to look up Grellner where that comes from.
Yeah.
If it's French, he might have Renee. Who knows?
It's German, I would guess.
I would guess it's German, yeah. So who's number 5?
Number 5? Would it be Brian?
It is Brian.
Brian's fantastic.
Brian's amazing. So you have 5. I call them the Fab Five.
Yeah.
You have, and I give them actually 100% credit. Of course, one of them is my wife, but I give them 100% credit for the tax cut last year because those Fab Five, met with the governor and others on a weekly basis, concocted this veto scheme, if you will, with the governor, and got 17 people to sign on a resolution proving that you all, mainly Freedom Caucus, but you all had enough numbers to what is that called? Uphold a veto.
Yes, that's correct. Sustain,
yes. Sustain a veto. And I credit the Fab Five. So they don't, when they did a fundraiser together a while back, and I told Senator Standards, Lisa, I said, you should make it a Fab Five fundraiser. No, we don't want to make any more of the freshman class feel like they're okay, then I don't care what you say. I'm going to call y'all Fab Five. That's how I think about it. They're amazing.
They are.
And if you look at that whole freshman class, you got Jonathan Wingard, you got Well, who else you got in there? You have Wingard. You have you have Brian. Oh my gosh, the guy that came in after Roger
Logan.
Brian Logan. He's a pretty awesome dude,
yes.
conservative. And you have some other that class, other than about 4 or 5 of them, are amazing. And the Fab Five, just in my mind, I mean, I told one of these freshmen I went and met with, not far from your district, hint, hint. But anyway, I went and met with them, and they were asking me, well, Pro Tem, well, what if David didn't run? And I said, well, I tell you what, you can take these Fab Five, you can put their names in a hat if I were there, and I could pull any one of them out, 100%. And I would be honored to serve with them as the Pro Tem. Any of those 5.
That's right.
And frankly, for Freedom Caucus leadership, sadly, you're leaving. Hopefully, you're not leaving politics and leadership.
I'm Freedom Caucus for life.
But you'll be out of the caucus, right, or out of the live caucus like I am.
Yeah, we'll be emeritus or whatever.
So one of those, my guess is somebody around that circle, and maybe further out. So I don't want to limit it, but any of those folks would be. It's amazing to have a class so awesome, and I think Freedom Caucus helped so much.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, could they have been? I mean, I think they would have come together well anyway. But I think that was a bit of the glue that helped that come together.
100%.
And I think
having a framework and a mechanism by which we can meet,
mentor,
regularly help one another.
Yes, have their back. I mean, so when the Lonnie Paxton takes the knife to stab Trump in the back, he doesn't accidentally stab one of y'all. I mean, it's those backstabbings like that. You got to protect. You know this. You have to protect each other all the time, and hopefully, if new leadership comes in, that those days will be behind us for a while.
Yes.
So
if we had a legitimate conservative Republican leadership, there might not be a need for Freedom Caucus.
There wouldn't be.
We organically manifested because the public in Oklahoma are hungry for real, true Republicans who actually legislate like they campaign.
Yeah. So, and I would argue this even further. I would say that because I had high hopes for Lonnie, because we talked, back then, and I shared my thoughts about Greg Treat and hoped and prayed that he would. I mean, all he had to do, this is a bizarre thing to me, all he had to do was be nice and respectful.
Which he was good at.
And he was good at before.
This year.
That's correct. And tell his thugs, like Adam Pugh, who's one of the biggest jerks I've ever met in my life, who, if he's superintendent, that's where he belongs, because that's one of the most feckless positions in the states. That'd be perfect for him. So he's a horrible individual. And so you have him. If you could control your thugs, like him and Rosino and others like that, that pick on people and love to use their nerdy third grade, now all of a sudden have power, trip.
Yep.
If you can control that. But he refused to do that. So he's disappointing in that. I think he could have had an opportunity to be a good leader by just being nice and respectful.
Here's the issue with Lonnie Paxton is, one, he was an accidental.
That's correct, yeah. I don't think he necessarily wanted it at the time.
I told him, I said, look, of all of this cabal, you're at least professional and respectful.
Yeah, before then he was, I mean,
and I said, that's the minimum I'm looking for at this point.
Yeah.
I said, why don't you run? Right?
Yeah.
And because, the alternative was Treat or Greg McCourtney.
Yeah.
Those are no-goes.
Yeah.
Right? And he also wanted to split them.
Yeah.
So, but at any rate, he'd go out of his way to be kind and polite and thoughtful and complimentary. But once he didn't have Greg McCourtney to be the bad guy, there was nothing left. And here's the other thing. The truth is, the Racinos, those who run legislation for lobbyists, that cabal, that have the 40% and below scores.
Right, yeah.
They don't have a philosophical, ideological mooring.
No, zero.
They just want to deliver the promises that maximizes benefit to them, whether it's campaign contributions or jobs that are coming later or just the ego of I got something done, whatever it is. So it's hard for you to, as Lonnie Paxton, to be, I am the leader of this group who have these core principles.
Yeah.
They don't exist.
They don't exist.
And so at one time, Lonnie was at least a Republican who believed in right to work, because that's one of the reasons he ran for office in 1997.
He was a fiscal conservative on a lot of issues.
And so I found him to be somewhat reasonable.
I did too.
But now he's being controlled,
I guess that's it,
by a splintered group who are only unified in the one thought: we do not want core conservatives like the Freedom Caucus to be in control because they'll disrupt our gravy train.
I guess
so.
That's
They're willing
know.
to splinter off and blackmail Lonnie. I believe if you don't do this, we will throw our support to your opponent.
Right.
And so he looks discombobulated because he's responding to whatever's the newest threat from that.
You think they're really doing that to him?
Yes, I do. I think that's how McCourtney got rid of Kim David. Is he went to Greg Treat and said, "I have all these votes that he did not have," and Treat blinked. That's what I believe.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that happened.
And so Treat threw his friend.
He
under
used
the bus.
us. He used us because we had met.
Yes.
We had met with Greg McCourtney, and he played nice before he got in there, but he was such a jerk once he got floor leader. I don't understand why people voted for him. He was such a jerk. For me, I'm like, it's just the Senate. I mean, why wouldn't you want a nice leader?
They were voting for him for protection for themselves.
I guess. I mean, I
People
don't
are afraid to be punished.
See, I don't understand all of that. So I guess my priorities in my life are different because I would think, why wouldn't you just want a nice? I mean, obviously somebody that can fundraise, somebody, which I met all of those qualities when I ran. I mean, why wouldn't you want just somebody that treated everybody with dignity and respect? And was nice. I mean, you could take him home to the family and not be embarrassed. Somebody like that. But that whole thing just always has baffled me.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's an extra layer to what happened with Lonnie Paxton is all across Oklahoma, and also deeply in the Freedom Caucus. We had prayer warriors across Oklahoma praying that God would expose what's really happening in the Senate so the public could see it.
I think they have.
And I don't believe that you can pray and do those things and God won't answer. And so I think a lot of the...
Well, his timing, though. That's one thing.
It's his timing. That's true.
We
It is
forget
his
that
timing.
often.
But I think that a lot of the exposure that happened, the missteps that were happened, it was kind of like, and God hardened Pharaoh's heart.
Yeah.
And so I saw a lot
He
of...
did harden his heart.
Yeah, because I think there's
And it
some
hardened Bill
rescue.
Coleman's heart.
Yes, yeah, I believe that.
Absolutely.
So some of these missteps is God's allowing the public to see the truth, so that
There's
we can
no
have
doubt.
some house cleaning. I believe that.
I believe you, and I believe that. I'm seeing it. I hope that it carries through June 16th. But
Amen.
please go out and vote for somebody that wants to change. Leadership is very simple. What we've covered a lot of stuff, my friend, my brother. What have we not? I'm sure there's something that I know you want to brag on the legal counsel on the no property tax more, but we don't want to take up all your day.
Where accolades are due. We're
So-
looking forward to seeing it. I supported you when you ran.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
made it very clear.
You are the only voter in the caucus that wrote your name on your ballot because you know that people
Lie.
Yes, lie. I think you think I didn't know that, but I absolutely didn't realize it to the extent that it exists, even at that time. Because you have John Michael Montgomery, we mentioned him earlier, not the worst guy in the world, but he took a $150,000 job that he wasn't qualified for in order to vote for Tree.
Yep.
You have Chris Kidd, who knows, he probably sold a kidney, who knows what he did. And you have Roger Thompson, that whole deal over Greg McCourtney. I mean, these people, gosh,
It's
life's
like
so
their life's
short.
wrapped up in being a senator.
Yeah,
For example,
yeah.
you, and let me be very clear. In my mind, you are a Renaissance man. You're well accomplished. You've got patents that you filed. You've had multiple businesses that have been very successful, international businesses. You've written 2 books that I'm aware of.
Only one published so far, but the other one's close.
So, and you got a law degree, while the rest of us were just doing Senate. You also got a law degree from Syracuse. So you and you're a successful father with kids that are well balanced and delightful to be around. So you haven't neglected your family while you're doing all these other things.
Well, thank you, Sean.
Tremendously talented.
Thank you, Shane. Appreciate that.
And your talent,
Ditto.
your talent was squandered by lesser men who was one-dimensional, wrapped themselves in somebody else's mantle that they didn't merit, and their only contribution was been able to be a stumbling block for the talent that could have blessed Oklahoma.
Well,
so I was proud
yeah.
to support you. I also supported David Bullard. Those were the alternatives to this wicked cabal that we're against.
It is wicked is the right name. But like you alluded to, man, it's so shallow.
It is shallow.
It's like if that's
They're all
your
wrapped up into this, and what they don't understand is those lobbyists who are feigning to be their BFFs will lose their cell phone number the moment their title
the
drops
moment
off.
they're off.
That's
yeah.
a fact.
Yeah. I haven't heard from many lobbies. Well, now you still are.
I
but in a
have
few
until
months,
November. But here's the thing: I served in the House of Representatives for 6 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
you
know
saw that happen,
if I had
yeah.
a policy question, I'd pick up the phone and call
yeah.
a lobbyist
Oh,
because
yeah.
I know they were expert because they represented. No return phone call.
Oh,
But guess
yeah,
what? I
yeah.
thought, maybe they lost my number. Benefit of the doubt. 10 years out, I'm working in the Trump administration at U.S. Treasury as an appointee. I'm running a small financial loan fund. I'm a Navy intel officer. I'm not too worried that they didn't return my phone calls, but they didn't.
Yeah, for sure.
And the night I got elected, that night I got over 450 unopened text messages, and I was responding as quickly as I could.
Yeah.
And all of those lobbyists, every single one that never called me back, called me that night. Congratulated how excited they were coming back.
Oh,
So,
did I miss your
number.
phone call center, Jett, like 3 years ago?
Yeah, for a decade.
Yeah.
I didn't call them all the time, but I
Right.
did notice when I'd pick up the phone and had a question that was relevant to whatever I was doing at that moment, they didn't call me back.
No,
they didn't need me.
Well, they don't need you. I mean, that's their job. I mean, but what's the disappointing thing is not that to me. Disappointed is the people that go up there and serve that think that this is some kind of huge thing in life.
Yes.
I mean, it is an accomplishment.
Yeah.
I admire that, but the lobbyists don't give a crap.
Right.
You're a tool for them, and I don't fault them for that.
Yeah.
Just like I don't fault the businesses that take advantage of moronic senators that give them free money.
Yes, yes.
So these lobbyists are just doing their job.
Lobbyists respect all those
No,
the
they
shills
have,
that
they
run
have
their
no
legislation.
respect. I'll tell you for
They're
a
like
fact.
coin operated.
I tell you for a fact they have zero respect.
That's true.
But you know what? They prefer them.
Of course, because it makes their job easier.
They prefer them because he just takes a text message, not a steak dinner.
That's
and
right.
So, but if it takes a steak dinner, it takes a steak dinner.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, we have covered a lot of stuff, Shane, and your kids are going to get mad if I keep you much longer. But what? Any other thoughts? Anything that we didn't cover that you want to shout out about?
Well, I'm excited about state question 843, and
Yeah, me too.
really appreciate you having your law degree ready to present.
Seems like I got it for that purpose. That's the only thing I've done.
How many state senators how many lawyers do you know that their very first case presented in a court was at the Oklahoma Supreme Court?
Well, Mike Reynolds told me yesterday there has been one,
I think it's just you.
and it was me. That's what he said. So I'll take Mike Reynolds. He's a good guy. I trust him.
Yeah.
I don't, but it wasn't, Shane, it wasn't on purpose, but it's God's timing. I think the world's of Kevin Calvey, but family comes first for him. God love him. God bless him for that. And so, and he was immensely helpful to me in this first big case of mine.
Yep.
So, but that was awesome. But let's do this more often.
Let's do it.
And when you get your podcast going out in Shawnee, tell me. I'll be there. But nice to have you on, brother.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
Appreciate it,
See
Rob.
you. Bye.